Out of the gates and ready to go. Hot Bite with Hutton and Withrow underway. The Friday edition is upon us. Glad you're with us across the OutKick Network, which includes this great radio partner. And if you're watching live, streaming live on YouTube or on demand on all of the social media platforms, we hope you'll subscribe, pound that like button, share the broadcast, join Chad in the chat, and much more. Jam-packed today to get you ready for your football weekend. Barrett, Sallee, college football reporter, insider, columnist for CBS Sports 24/7. He will be with us in 20 minutes. The biggest news and notes going into the big weekend, Texas and Bama, and much more, including Mack Brown, which we'll hit on in a moment. Michael Fabiano is your fantasy football guru. He's with us each and every Friday. He joins us in about 40 minutes. We've got great bets for you, and through PointsBet, OutKick.com/bet, and with Kelly in Vegas. Her top picks, and we'll follow her parlay as well. Suggestions, at least. That's coming up later in the show. Plus, Mike Gunzelman of OutKick.com. The Gun Show is here. Chad Withrow's got your top 10 games for your college football weekend that you can't miss. Chad, good afternoon.
Hutton, I feel very confident in my ability to pick top 10 games of the college football weekend. I have zero confidence in my sports betting ability right now. That's why we go to Kelly in Vegas, Kelly Stewart.
It's a must.
So she can give us winners, because I'm going to be honest, I'm not winning a lot lately, and I'm really shaken to my core and not sure how to continue without the advice of an expert like Kelly.
This is college or NFL right now?
Well, both. Yeah, last night should have taken. I bet before the Kelsey news was official. I bet before your stats about taking the under in week one.
The under,
and I won one bet.
The under hit.
I took. You're going to love this one, Hutton. I took Louisville against Murray State.
Okay.
54 was the over-under. Louisville won 56-0, so I got that cover. And then I took the over, and I missed it by 12 points. I think it was 53 was the over-under, and it was 21-20, so missed that one by 12. And it just continues a string of losses. I'm doing away with parlays. I'm just going back to just one bet at a time, seeing how I do, get an overall record
weekend
going.
It's week 2.
Well, it's going to be a winning weekend because Kelly in Vegas is going to come on and tell us what to bet to win. I'm also going to tell Kelly where she's wrong, though, on one of these games. Not afraid to do that, even with my lack of confidence.
We were wrong to head towards Arrowhead and pick Kansas City last night. That's where we start with our top headlines of the day. 21-20, the Lions go to Kansas City and get the victory, and they had to do it the long, hard way, but they came to play. And props to Detroit. Let's start there before we go in on KC and some of the issues. The Lions have been the talk of the offseason, winning the way they did towards the end of the year, and doing it through the consistency of Jared Goff last year, not throwing an interception over a final 350-plus pass attempts. He continues that run with what we saw last night. The addition of Jahmyr Gibbs, albeit in limited action compared to what we may have thought he would be. He touched the ball, 9 times, I believe. And no mistakes for the most part. And they went to Arrowhead and won. Chad, this is hard to do. And they did it against Mahomes, who didn't have Kelsey. The defense didn't have Jones. And Kadarius Toney didn't have hands to catch the football last night. But the Lions had to play aggressive. Some of that paid off. Some of it didn't, but they held firm. And that's a nice win for a club that believes they're at the top of their division right now with a surefire chance to win the NFC North. They look like a team that can do that last night.
Well, I'm glad Dan Campbell postgame said that was expected, what just happened with that win in Kansas City, because no one else really expected it. Regardless of what Mike Tirico said, I'll get into this a little bit more later about there's an asterisk by the win for Detroit. That's BS. Yes, they were without 2 of their better players, but even without 2 of their better players, I didn't see a lot of people picking the Lions, because what was all the talk? Full offseason to prepare, Patrick Mahomes in week 1 at home, defending Super Bowl champion. Andy Reid is a superior coach who will have a better game plan ready in this one. And all Detroit did was go in there, physically win the game up front, and pulled out an enormous win for that franchise in front of a bunch of Lions fans, which shocked me to see that many Lions fans on the road at Arrowhead. They've got a waiting list for season tickets at Ford Field for the first time ever. This is an exciting story, and it's a team that I don't think it's just a bunch of blustering when they talk about how much they believe and how this was expected. I think Dan Campbell has gone in there and he has got guys in his image, in his level of toughness that do believe. And I'm watching Jared Goff last night, and I'm not going to say, one game and he's some game changer or anything, but those were a couple of game-changing throws he made late in that game on a 3rd and long, one where he fit in, I have no idea, like a puzzle piece deep down the field.
Yeah, that was 3rd and 12 from the 22-yard line.
Yeah, he's got Josh Reynolds looking like an all-pro receiver, a guy who was terrible right here in Nashville with the Titans. Very impressed with this Detroit Lions team and impressed they went in there and got that win last night.
Well, that was the play of the game. That Goff stepping up, pressure coming off the edge on the blitz. It's 20-14 at the time. KC had just had to settle for a field goal, and it's 3rd and 12. Goff made a crazy throw and was able to thread it straight to Reynolds. And they end up getting not just the first down there, they then hit Reynolds again on the catch and run, and eventually we see Montgomery score the touchdown. They go up 21-20. And again, at the time, it was about 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. To me, that's the play of the game. After that, Tony had his 3rd drop on a big 3rd down miscue, and Detroit still had to play aggressive. But when they needed a play on a 3rd and long, Goff was able to produce that as well. They went for it. I go back to the Chargers and how aggressive they play against Kansas City, going forward on 4th down quite a bit. Detroit in the first quarter goes with the fake punt from their own 17-yard line.
Yeah.
And they get the first down. A 4th down attempt late in the 4th with, 3 minutes left.
4th and 2.
That gets stuffed. Or, excuse me, that was tipped at the line.
It was batted down,
But they also tried to run behind their offensive line at one point and got stuffed. Brian Branch had the interception return for a touchdown. You had to have a lot of things go right, and that's even without Kelsey and Jones, to go to Arrowhead and win, you have to just play fundamentally sound, not mistake-free. You've got to create your own chances, though, and you have to have some help, and Tony gave them that. 3 massive drops, none bigger than the big 3rd down miss. Eventually, it was 4th and 20, incomplete, and that's all she wrote.
Yeah, that was there was a 3rd down miss. There was it may have been on 1st down also. One of them would have been a touchdown on that second last drive. I think the 2 biggest plays of the day: that Reynolds catch, the throw from Goff that was spectacular that we talked about, and then the drop by Tony, where if he just catches it and turns upfield, I think he's scoring a touchdown. Chris Collinsworth on the call said there was no confidence in that even attempt to catch the ball. That was a lack of confidence attempt.
Well, he dropped it, and then what happened? The very next play, they actually picked up what would have been a 1st down. It was called back for holding.
Yeah.
On the next play after the drop. Yeah, you're right. Lack of confidence, and there
was the little timing route, the little mesh route where they were crossing, and it was just thrown maybe a tick too early, and it got in the line of sight of Tony on one of them. Remember that late in the game also? That would have been a big pickup. Just little things that are off. And certainly, I mean, it was impactful to not have Kelsey in there offensively.
You can tell things are just a bit discombobulated.
And what did I say yesterday? I said they're going to have to actually draw up plays now.
Well, they do for the receivers.
That are going to be well-timed.
But Mahomes and Kelsey don't have to do that.
But when they get in trouble, 3rd down, 4th down, he's looking for Travis Kelsey.
And
I was thinking about
the shots of Kelsey on the sideline were great,
that
too.
That 3rd down miss where the timing was just a bit off, where the players crossed in front of each other and the one receiver got in the line of sight of the other, incomplete. I was thinking back to what we talked about yesterday and said, that's the one. You got to get timed up perfectly.
Yes.
And in a perfect world with a fully healthy Travis Kelsey, they're not even worried about it because they're targeting him on that 3rd down play and probably picking it up.
Really good game, top to bottom, last night for the NFL.
Lots of fun.
To kick off week 1. We'll preview more of that coming up. Joe Burrow, he's back at practice. He's going to play this week against the Browns, and he plays this week against Deshaun Watson, who has the fully guaranteed contract. The highest paid player in NFL history is now Joe Burrow. Agreement with the Bengals that was reported yesterday, right as we went off air. 5 years, $275 million extension, $219 guaranteed. That makes him the highest paid player. Of course, the fully guaranteed money, you can still look towards Watson, but it's Burrow with the total contract that goes well above anyone else and props because he's deserving of it. And now the Bengals not only have their quarterback for the long term, and by the way, this was handled perfectly on both sides. Didn't really hear anything behind the scenes. He had the injury. Many thought that before he came back from the injury to practice, this would be wrapped up. And he gets it done on the eve of kicking off week 1. So there's no distractions going into the season.
You just knew the timing, how they were going to slot the different quarterbacks. It was whoever was going to be next would then be the highest paid. And it always made sense that Burrow was going to be the last one up. And now they get it done. And Cincinnati, a franchise notoriously cheap and low rent, now has the highest paid player in the sport. And
it's an annual value of $55 million that puts him highest paid. The total value of the contract, number 1, is Patrick Mahomes. Of course, that's scattered over a 10-year deal. And number 2, and fully guaranteed at $230 million, is Deshaun Watson. And it's put up or shut up time now for that contract in Cleveland after what was a disaster based on the way he played last year. They're expecting him to play the way he did in his final year in Houston. Chad, you had mentioned earlier this week, we got down the path of Corso on College Game Day and possible replacements at some point, who you would look to to fill that seat. You mentioned Mack Brown.
Yep.
And at the time, I'm thinking maybe, and I mentioned Spurrier, and we threw around some other names. But after the way he went off on the NCAA, I'd love to see him on College Game Day tomorrow, immediately, for bashing the NCAA and given the fact that they're not going to have Devontae Walker, who was denied eligibility for the upcoming season, the current season for North Carolina, who failed in his appeal to the Collegiate Oversight Committee. And he did not hold back with the statement and the letter that he sent out yesterday.
No, I mean, he went totally scorched earth segment here. Go scorched earth on the entire NCAA. Said he's never felt worse about an individual, about a governing body, anything than with this decision.
And the program, he was originally denied earlier this offseason, and they fought the decision. North Carolina did. They pointed to a number of things, given the fact that he's coming from Kent State. His eligibility struggle was outside of some things in his life, injuries, COVID-19, and just how things have been governed from the collegiate aspect. He started at ETSU, then he ends up at Kent State, and it's this double transfer part of all this that is the hang-up. But it's just the timing. He enrolled 2 days in December. He committed in December and then enrolled on January 9th. And then right after that is when the NCAA had their new adjustment to the policy of transfers.
Well, meanwhile, JT Daniels is at his 6th school, so it's just inconsistent on some of this stuff. Here's the exact line from the statement from Mack Brown. I don't know, it doesn't get much stronger than these sentences. I don't know that I've ever been more disappointed in a person, a group of people, or an institution than I am with the NCAA right now. It's clear that the NCAA is about process, and it could not care less about the young people it's supposed to be supporting. Plain and simple. The NCAA has failed Tez and his family, and I've lost all faith in its ability to lead and govern our sport. They've messed so many things up as it relates to college football, and now their failures have negatively impacted the life of one of our own. He ends his statement, Hutton, by saying, "Shame on you, NCAA. Shame on you." All caps. In an official statement from Mack Brown, he goes all caps at the end of this, and he becomes yet another in a long line of coaches and commissioners that start to hint about a different governing body over the highest level of college football that's needed, and it's not the NCAA.
How much of this from the NCAA part of this is about their plea for federal guidelines on the portal itself, on name, image, likeness, and trying to show that they're enforcing part of what they're arguing for, even though they took a step back from it 2 years ago, right? Like the more or less what we saw from Senator Tuberville and former coach Tuberville is basically the guidelines that were in place before the NCAA decided to be a beta in leadership, and before they decided they didn't want to be sued.
Yeah, it's just it's very inconsistent how they'll take a beta mindset with certain things and do this. Well, I want the government to figure it out because we've been shut down by the Supreme Court. And then in this instance where it would be so simple just to sign off and say, oh, the kid's at North Carolina wants to play there, whatever, let him play. And instead says, no, we're going to not stamp this. You can't play this year. So they put their foot down in one instance, and then they play the role of the beta in every other instance, which I think confuses Mack Brown and everyone else. Hutton, the one big response from a lot of people that, they want to criticize Mack Brown now for saying this, and they're not wrong. The NCAA is simply administering rules that your school, being one of them, approved. University of North Carolina, as a part of this charter with the NCAA, these are all rules written in. They're just simply enforcing the rules that you wrote. So if you want to send a letter to someone, send it to your chancellor of your own university to send this out, that we're no longer playing ball with the NCAA and they can't govern anymore because they're the ones who set the rules. I understand that, but let's all be completely upfront about this. They've been playing loose with the rules for a while now. They do whatever's convenient to them, and the inconsistency is what's got to change.
They want the perception of being in charge.
Absolutely, and that's what Mack Brown is saying. They're not fit to run it anymore. They're not fit to govern.
Barrett, Sallee, fit to preview the top games across college football. We'll ask him about Mack Brown's comments as well about the NCAA. Sallee joins us next on the Hot Mic with Hutton and Withrow across the OutKick Network.
I know you have a very close relationship with them. That's been ongoing for decades now. A lot of people don't realize how you two met. I would love for you to share the story and then also just explain why your relationship with him is still so important to this day.
Yeah, so we met because when we first bought the UFC, none of the venues wanted the UFC. The UFC had a horrible stigma attached to it that we were trying to obviously change and turn this thing into a real sport, get it sanctioned, but venues didn't want us. Now we break every venue record in the world. Back then, venues didn't want us. Trump, think about it too. At that time, the Trump brand was here. UFC brand was, where it was. And this guy saw it. He got it. He wanted us to come to his hotel. He showed up for the first fight, stayed the last fight, both times that we did an event with him. And then after that, everything that ever happened to me in my career after that, he was the first person to reach out, whether it was a phone call or one time he wrote me a letter on the cover of the New York Times when we got a story in the New York Times. Just saying congratulations. I always knew you were going to do it. And through that, he and I have created a friendship. He's always been incredibly loyal to me and good to me, and I've been the same.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because we've seen him attend a couple of UFC events recently, and oh my gosh, the fanfare. I mean, the excitement, the energy that he stirs up in these sold-out arenas is just insane.
Yeah, I think that right now in these times that we're in and some of the things that we're talking about, UFC, the fans, the fighters, the staff, everybody's pretty aligned. I wouldn't say that we're all equal politically because that's impossible to be politically equal with everybody. Many things about me. I was an old school Democrat at one point. I was a Democrat. I wouldn't consider myself a hardcore Republican. I'm right down the middle, and I'm about common sense. I'm all for common sense. As soon as common sense goes out the window, you lose me. You know what I mean? So I think that as a whole, the UFC base are very much aligned in many ways.
Yeah, common sense is a theme that we like to keep ongoing here at OutKick. So, I've always appreciated you from that aspect. One thing that I think wasn't dealt with so much common sense was the situation in Lahaina. I know that, our current president took his sweet time getting down there. But the UFC, fortunately, was there to provide some relief for the wildfires that caused so much damage to the entire island. I know donating $1 million up front. Is this a cause that you would say is really close to your heart, and how successful has this campaign been so far, Dana?
Yes, first of all, as an American, if anything happens in any state in America, if you own a business, a successful business, you should support. Number one. Number two, Hawaii, everybody in America loves Hawaii. Everybody wants to go there. Everybody wants to take a vacation to Hawaii. And the people there are incredible. They've been very good to the UFC, huge supporters of the UFC. Athletes have come from Hawaii. We love Hawaii, like the shirts that we're selling right now that say to support Hawaii. We love them over there, and we're going to do everything we can to help.
We are just getting started on your Friday edition Hot Mic with Hutton and Withrow across the OutKick network. Coming up, Michael Fabiano joins us with the latest on fantasy football, kicking off that for your leagues. Kelly in Vegas with the top bets of the weekend. A bit later, the Gun Show. Mike Gunzelman joins us in studio from OutKick.com. Right now, we preview the college football weekend. Barrett Sallee joins us, 24/7 CBSSports.com analyst. Always great to have you on, Barrett. Hope things are well, man.
Things are good, man. College football season is here. And, hey, 5 straight days of football last weekend didn't take a toll on me at all because Monday night was quite interesting, to say the least.
No doubt.
Cannot beat it.
From just sheer intrigue, from where you sit, are you more intrigued to see how Colorado follows up last week hosting Nebraska or Texas on the road against Bama?
It's Texas, Alabama. Nothing against what Deion did and what Colorado did. I think we were all surprised about that. But I think there's this sort of, I don't know if you guys, are getting this sense either, but it feels like there's this sudden push for Colorado to not just make a bowl game, but to be a threat. And that's just not what they are. I mean, look, they've got superstars, a few of them, but they don't have the depth. So I'm excited to see what happens against Nebraska. I don't think that they're going to have much issue with Nebraska because Nebraska's offense is terrible, but I think we need to pump the brakes on them being anything more than a bowl team. And I think that would be a tremendous, tremendous feat in Deion's first year. For Texas, getting Alabama when they get them, I think is far more interesting because the Texas is back narrative has been around, for 15 years now. And at some point it's going to be true. I want to see what this team does because this team actually could be the one that is back based on the personnel that they have and all that. So I'm far more interested in that because to me, if Texas can beat Alabama, then Texas is a college football playoff contender. Whereas with Colorado, Nebraska, if Colorado wins, it's still a cute little story and nothing more than that.
Yeah, and it was the story of last weekend with Colorado's win. And I keep coming back to this, Barrett. What is the ratio of Colorado's better than expected with TCU maybe a lot worse than we expected with all they lost from last year's team? And were they just overhyped and overrated? And Colorado really is more of what we thought, but maybe a little better. And then you try to throw Nebraska in the mix. That really should have gone on the road and won at Minnesota, but they Nebraska'd it in the end and found a way to lose.
Yeah, I think everything you just said is right. Colorado's a little better. They're well coached. They've got, I don't think any of us knew how good Travis Hunter would be in game one. And I don't think anybody thought Shedeur Sanders could do that as a quarterback, but they did. They did it to TCU, which I think exactly what you said is correct. TCU a little bit overrated, but go back and look at what TCU actually was last year. Not to say they didn't deserve to be in the college football playoff national championship. They did, but they won by the skin of their teeth every single week in October. They've lost 3 of their last 4 games due pretty much because of that defense. So the defense struggled against Colorado. At some point, you have to sit there and say, okay, look, the identity of TCU had something to do with what happened against Colorado. And it's something that has continued, even late towards the end of last season. They've lost 3 out of 4 games for a reason, and that is the defense. And with Nebraska, if Colorado beats Nebraska, we're going to have all the hoopla all over again. But I've said from the beginning, I like Matt Rule. I think he can turn Nebraska around, but he made two massive mistakes in the offseason, hiring Marcus Satterfield to run his offense and convincing Jeff Sims to be his quarterback after Jeff Sims was remarkably average to slightly below average for 3 years in Atlanta. So I think right now, if Colorado goes out in their home opener and beats Nebraska by double digits, which probably will happen, there will be even more hype behind Colorado and not enough attention on the fact that Nebraska just isn't that good yet.
Has the business and the culture of college football passed Dabo Swinney by? Have we seen the last of Clemson as not as a really good team, but as a national top 4, top 5 power, just based on recent results, but also a lot of the comments coming from Dabo?
Yeah, I mean, as far as being a national championship caliber team every single year, yes. The NIL stuff, Dabo was very, very late to the game on that. I think he's reluctantly fell in line now, and that's helping. But it might be too little too late, because I think at the same time, we might be seeing Dabo be exposed as more a product of Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence rather than a top 2 or 3 coach in the country. And that's okay. You still have to get those guys on campus. That's fine. But you combine that with an offense against Duke. Garrett Riley was supposed to be the savior, right? You go back and look at that game plan against Duke, they wouldn't let Cade Klubnik throw. And that is so bizarre to me, because you have the receivers. Cade's got a big arm. And clearly what the game plan was is not working. Guys, I wrote a halftime piece in our live blog update. The only 10-yard or more completion they had in the first half was an 18-yarder to Mario Williams. And it was on the last play of the first half when Duke was playing prevent. It's like, come on, what are we even doing here? So I think that Dabo's kind of being exposed for being a really good coach, not an elite coach. And at the same time, he's fighting an uphill battle because he did adopt a lot of the NIL principles a little too late.
Barrett Sallee with us, CBS Sports college football analyst. Barrett, are you a believer in Jalen Milroe? Are you a believer in Quinn Ewers?
I'm a believer in Quinn Ewers. Yeah, I think Quinn Ewers he's got a ton of weapons around him, but he's every bit the kind of guy who can go out and win a game on his own. I don't know if Jalen Milroe's that guy. He might be, but what we saw last week was Middle Tennessee, and he didn't have to do any of that stuff. They wanted to get him comfortable. They did, and I didn't think he would be able to do what he did last week, but that was not by necessity. And I think Quinn Ewers can, against Alabama last year, 146 yards in the first quarter.
Yeah.
He had to do that, and he did it. And so we know he can do that. Jalen Milroe, you go back and watch, some of his throws, and Cole Kubelik, our good friend from SEC Network and ESPN and Jocks, had a great breakdown on his SEC Network show saying, look, some of the passes that Jalen Milroe made and connected on and were viewed as highlights really weren't proper reads and really weren't fundamentally sound. So the jury for me is still out on if Jalen can be a difference maker when he has to. But certainly he's got the talent, and he showed the talent that he possesses against Middle Tennessee. And look, if you're Alabama, that's kind of what you wanted to see, and that's kind of all you needed to see and all you were available to see based on the opponent.
It's easy to say a win for Texas tomorrow is big, but if we take that a layer or two deeper, what does that really do for Texas's football program, for Sarkisian, for Ewers and others? What would a win in Tuscaloosa mean as far as impact on the program?
No, it validates everything. It validates everything that Steve Sarkisian has been building. And I don't think folks realize Texas made a pretty significant step in year 2 last year under Sark. So going into Alabama and beating the Crimson Tide would validate even further the job he's done, the construction project that he's been, trying to lay the foundation for the last couple of years. And then it would give him momentum going into the SEC. I mean, if you're Texas and you beat Alabama tomorrow, what do you say for the rest of the year? You say, okay, national championship might not be there, but we went in and slayed the dragon. We know it's possible, and we're going to be heading up against that team every other year for the next, generations of your lives. So it would be huge to do it in the last year that Texas is in the Big 12. It would be huge to get that Texas is back moniker, off their backs a little bit, and to set themselves up in a position where they potentially could contend for a national championship this year. So it would validate everything that Sark has put together in Austin, and I think that's something that the program has desperately needed and been waiting for since 2009.
So with that statement from Mack Brown about the NCAA, Barrett, is he trying to lobby for future czar of college football status, or is he trying to lobby for future replacement of Lee Corso on ESPN College Game Day status with how hard he went at the NCAA with that one?
Is the answer yes? It probably is yes.
Yes.
I mean, I've never seen a coach go that deep. Like when he said shame on you in all caps in the press release, I was like, dang, is this a message board post? Because this is amazing. So look, I don't think many coaches could get away with that. A, because Mack Brown's like the nicest dude ever, but B, he's not going to be, coaching forever. He's pretty old. So, why not go out scorched earth? So yeah, lobbying, I would say more lobbying for the czar of college football, but I would say above anything else, he's just mad and he doesn't care. He's just mad and he feels like he can get away with stating whatever opinion he has as strongly as he can. And he did it. So man, it's a terrible situation. If you know Tez Walker's path, he should be eligible. I don't think there's any doubt he should be eligible. And it goes back to something that I've said for a very long time, that every school, every professional franchise, hell, every organization in any market with any product should have a vice president of common sense. Somebody who just sits in the room quietly, ideally doesn't say a word about anything, but when there's a bad idea brought up, essentially they throw the flag. They're like, no, don't do this. Don't do this. The NCAA needs somebody like that. And also, like, the NCAA at this point, what are they? They're a governing body that has no power, but they do have power over eligibility, and they're going to hold on to that as long as they can until they become obsolete, and that's going to happen in the next 5 or 10 years.
I've never been to a game at Tulane, but I'm assuming this will be one of the more hyped Tulane games that we've seen at home when Ole Miss comes to town tomorrow. Barrett, what is that game going to look like when you look at both of these teams and their styles of play?
Very similar in terms of styles of play. I think there's going to be a lot of Ole Miss fans there, because why wouldn't you go to New Orleans if you have the opportunity to? But it's a huge game for Tulane, obviously, as well. I think with that, you guys saw last week with Ole Miss, against Mercer, the defense looked really good. That's Mercer, obviously. But if they can look average against Tulane and Michael Pratt, that's enormous for Ole Miss, because playing average defense against a really good offense instantly makes you a contender, not only in the SEC West, but the SEC and potentially a New Year's Six bowl, because that's all you need to be against any opponent. And Tulane's offense is really darn good. So it would be huge. I know the offenses are going to sort of dominate the headlines, and they're both great. Don't get me wrong. But if you can just look adequate defensively, if you're Ole Miss under first-year coordinator Pete Golding, you are headed in the right direction. It's not just a small step forward; it's a giant leap forward for a team that I think, from an offensive standpoint, has plenty of talent to do a lot of fun, interesting, and creative things if they get into big games.
And Chad, just to further, I mean, if they lose this game to Tulane, they've got Georgia Tech, and then they have a gauntlet with Alabama, LSU, Arkansas, and then at Auburn. And it's not the same schedule as last year for Lane Kiffin.
No, and A&M, one of those games, that's the next game I want to talk about, Barrett, that's left for Ole Miss. Proof of concept for Deion Sanders, at least for one game, and what he did this offseason. A lot of points put on the board against a bad opponent for Bobby Petrino's offense in one game. Here's a chance for proof of concept against a really good defense in Miami. What do you like about this matchup between A&M and Miami?
Well, I love the fact that they're basically the same teams, right? Both have first-year offensive coordinators. Both have quarterbacks who have a lot of upside. Both are trying to figure out an offensive identity. Both have pretty good defenses. Both have fan bases that are starved, and both have resources that can get them into the national championship picture. So I've heard a lot of Texas A&M fans. Texas A&M fans hate me because I tell them the truth instead of reaffirming what they already think is the truth. And I think, to me, Bobby Petrino, everything worked last week against New Mexico. It's because it was New Mexico, and that's not to say that Texas A&M can't get things right or Bobby Petrino won't get things right. but nothing about game one validates that one way or the other. You know, a lot of the conversation about Petrino and Jimbo is that, well, what happens when Bobby Petrino doesn't do something that Jimbo likes? Well, Bobby Petrino called all the good plays on Saturday. What if he calls two bad ones? Then what happens? And so I'm excited about it. I hope it's more exciting than 17-9 like it was last year. But I think more likely than not, the winner of this game is going to have a much better gauge about where they are as a program. And both might, if it's a close game and it's a shootout, they both might be really happy about where things are. So I'm excited about it. I think defensively, both have pretty good defenses. I'd be surprised, though, if Miami's defense doesn't sort of rule the day, because I think that team is vastly underrated. I think they're going to struggle. A&M's going to struggle to move the football. I don't trust Connor Wegman. I don't trust their running backs yet. But I'm excited to see it. It's one of those games where you kind of like circled on the calendar before the season. You didn't know how exciting it was going to be or how important it's going to be. But it should be a lot of fun.
Barrett, we only have time for just the answer on the game. But is there a sneaky good game that we should not overlook this weekend?
Notre Dame versus NC State.
Okay.
NC State's got good defense. Notre Dame's got Sam Hartman.
Barrett Sallee's got you covered on all things college football. CBS Sports college football analyst and expert. Great follow on social. Great guy overall. Barrett, thanks for the time, man. We'll catch up soon.
Thanks, y'all. Have a good one.
Enjoy the weekend. Some great matchups.
I thought you'd go Auburn Cal on that one. That was
Auburn
my expectation.
Cal
That's a sneaky good one.
Yeah, if you can stay awake, which we will.
You will.
I will.
I will not.
We will be awake.
I'll see a bit of it. I'll see a quarter.
Coming up, start 'em, sit 'em. Michael Fabiano, the fantasy football expert, joins us next to help you going into week one of the NFL fantasy football season.
I'm here at the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix, but that's not the only big race that's on people's minds. Let's go talk about it.
There's no way Biden can win again. There's just no way. Even the people that voted for him because they didn't like Trump, now at least have to see like senile, not all there, probably won't be alive for 4 more years.
Are you a Trump guy? Or are you a DeSantis guy? Or someone else?
I don't like any of them.
Who's your dream candidate? Who would you want to run?
Myself. I think the best candidates probably are smart enough not to run.
I just hope there's somebody that's young enough to care about the country instead of their politics.
My fear is they get Gavin Newsom from California. And I think it would be the new cool vote for the younger people, and that's what I don't like.
Who do you think on the Republican side would be able to take on Gavin Newsom?
Great question. As a Republican registered, I love what Trump's body of work did, but they're just out to get him and destroy him, and we won't get things done, which is crappy for me to say. I thought DeSantis was going to be the guy. Trump only has 4 years left. He cannot fix everything that just happened in 4 years. And he's going to be battling indictments and all these false stuff for the next 4 years. We won't get anything done. And it'll just be the stalemate in America. That's why I almost don't want him in. But if he is the leading candidate, that's who I'm going to vote for.
Is there any Democrat that you would vote for, consider voting for? Absolutely not. What about RFK Jr.? No. Who should our first female president be?
Michelle Obama, of course. Okay. Yeah.
I'm going to go with Harambe 2024.
We have the 2024 presidential race coming up, and I wanted to see who you thought your favorite TV characters would vote for. Homer Simpson, like who do you think he would vote for?
Donald Trump, all the way.
Vito Corleone.
Whoa. Whoever advances the cause of the Corleone family. Yeah.
Tony Soprano. If Tony Soprano is voting in the 2024 election, who do you think he's voting for?
I'm going to go Ron DeSantis.
Okay, why do you think that?
Just seems like a Ron DeSantis kind of guy.
Is this a meatball joke that you're trying to make right now? What about Homer Simpson?
Homer would vote for Biden because he's a dope.
Who do you think Napoleon Dynamite would vote for?
That's a good question. I actually don't know.
There's a right answer here.
He's voting for himself or Pedro.
There's a Viking show, I think.
Okay.
Maybe that's Hulu. I don't know.
So in the Viking show, whatever the main character is, who do you think they would vote for in 2024?
Probably a goat or a dog.
I think we have one of those in office right now. So who do you think Jon Snow would vote for in this upcoming election?
I'm going to say Donald J. Trump.
Why do you think so?
Because Game of Thrones is all about drama, and Trump comes with the drama, baby.
Would you vote for Trump from jail?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably. Because at that point, what else do you have to lose?
Okay, would you vote for Trump from a jail cell?
Yeah, baby, I will get Trump out of jail.
Would you vote for Trump in jail?
Oh, yeah.
Based as
The thing that Trump needs to remember is there's another political figure that said, I don't recall very well.
Yeah.
And that's all he's got to say.
Is there like a dream candidate, someone that you think could like save us all?
Yeah, Jesus.
Amen to that.
Sixth and Peabody, our location with Yeehaw Beer and Old Smoky Moonshine. Glad you're with us for Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow here on the OutKick Network. Hope you subscribe to the channel on YouTube. If you're listening to this great radio partner, we say thank you. Chad, we're in the Fantasy League here with Yeehaw Beer and Old Smoky Moonshine.
We
all
are.
the staff. How'd you feel about the draft earlier this week?
I felt okay. I came
We
out
haven't
of
talked
it.
about this.
Usually, like I'm very down or very up on my team, but I came out of it feeling like 16-team league.
Yeah.
So it gets pretty thin by
Not
the
bad.
end of your roster. Pretty thin at tight end. I think I'm starting Dalton Kincaid. We're going to ask the next guest if that's a good move or not, but
Yeah.
it was the best that I could do. But outside of that, just okay. You know what's better than okay? The bookcase NFL helmet setup of our
it's
next
excellent.
guest. I
It's
am so
excellent.
jealous of this setup.
And it's set up perfectly with the matchups of the week.
So jealous.
Michael Fabiano joins us, Sports Illustrated senior fantasy analyst. He's joining us weekly here on OutKick. Michael, great to see you, man. And I'm with Chad. The background is awesome with the helmet matchups for the week.
Yeah, man, I've actually had that for a couple of years now, and it goes all the way across to the other side. You can't see because of the camera angle. And below the helmets that are in the matchups are also some old school, like throwback type helmets. I'll have to give you guys the entire tour at some point.
I love that. Yeah.
Because there's 50 helmets.
I'd love to get the tour. Is there a TV on that wall somewhere, or is it across from you, or is the TV in a different room?
It's across from me. Yeah, it's
Okay.
on the other side.
See, if
That's
there was a
right.
TV in the middle of that, maybe even if there wasn't, I would sit in front of those helmets all weekend and just sip old fashions and just look at those helmets with absolute joy. That's how excited I get, especially seeing the old school Tampa Bay Buccaneers helmet behind him right now.
I've got
Makes
some,
me very happy.
I've got some real good old school ones. I've got the old school Broncos one from the 60s.
It's my favorite.
The powder blue Oilers helmet. I've got a lot of good ones.
Michael Fabiano's got some great advice for you as well. Let's just recap a bit from last night. Should fantasy owners with Jahmyr Gibbs be skeptical? Should they be concerned based on the amount, the volume, or the lack thereof of production and the ball in his hands?
I think he's got to see more work in the weeks to come. Remember, this was his first game in the NFL in a hostile environment. With that being said, I mean, I've said it. I never thought he was worth a third-round pick, and even a fourth-round pick was pushing it. The Lions gave David Montgomery a good amount of money, and he's their starter. And we saw that in the game last night. He was the guy who got the lion's share of the work. Now, Jahmyr Gibbs is a good back. There's been a lot of comparisons to Alvin Kamara on the field, and he's going to end up popping several times during the course of the season. But David Montgomery is not going away, and that ultimately is going to hurt Gibbs' ceiling.
Rashee Rice, is he the best bang for your buck if you had him in a draft late?
I wish I had a dartboard around here because I'd put every Chiefs wide receiver in it and start throwing darts. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I last night, we all were thinking this was going to be the Sky Moore breakout game.
Yes.
He scored 0.4 of a point. Kadarius Toney had cinder blocks for hands. He couldn't catch. Rashee Rice just happened to get it open in the end zone, and Mahomes found him. It's going to be like it was last year and maybe worse. It's going to be a guessing game every single week. among the Chiefs wide receivers. Ultimately, I think Sky Moore will be the best player, but will he be a consistent fantasy option? Based on last night, I think right now the answer is no. I know one thing: the Chiefs need Travis Kelce back, and so do fantasy managers.
No doubt.
I got Rashee Rice very late in our draft that we just talked about, and he's on my bench. I did not start him, and I didn't even consider starting him. Hopefully, the guys I started will do better. One of those guys I started, I've already brought him up, so I want to ask about him because he's another rookie. Dalton Kincaid with the Bills at tight end. Do you see him being a possible touchdown thief for this Bills team, the way they're going to utilize him? How do you view him in this rookie year?
He's got as good a shot as anybody to be the best rookie tight end, although Sam Laporta kind of staked his claim last night, but it is only one game. He's going to play the slot. He's a move guy. He's not a blocker, so he's going to run a lot of routes, which is great. Am I starting Dalton Kincaid in week one? I mean, I think he could probably do a little bit better among rookies. I mean, I like Luke Musgrave with what's going on in Green Bay. Christian Watson's not going to play. Romeo Doubs is banged up. He's questionable. So there's some other options I'd prefer. I will say this. If you have Darren Waller, who is now questionable for Sunday night, it's not good when a player goes on the injured list on Friday, especially with a hamstring. You may want to be looking at picking up Dalton Kincaid as insurance in case Waller can't go on Sunday night.
Michael Fabiano with us on Hot Mic with Hutton and Withrow here across the OutKick Network. Let's get to the start 'em and sit 'em, starting with the starts, your must starts. Is it safe to say any quarterback that will face the Rams defense is a must start? And that's where we start with Geno Smith this week.
Geno's a really good start. I don't think he's a must start. A lot of people probably have a better quarterback on their roster, but if you don't, he's certainly worth it. The Rams are going to be bad this year. The defense, obviously, with trading away Jalen Ramsey, who now is not playing for the Dolphins because of a knee injury, they're just not going to be a good team. And the Seahawks looks like they're going to have their full complement of wide receivers there. Jackson Smith and Jigba supposed to be back and good to go. So Geno's a good play. Running back, I like J.K. Dobbins. He's healthy. There's no limitations in terms of snaps. He's playing the worst run defense in the league. At least they were last year in the Houston Texans. So J.K. Dobbins is a really good play this week. Jahan Dotson is a good play as a flex. Now, Terry McLaurin is going to play this week. Remember, he had gotten hurt in preseason, and there were some reports that he might miss the start of the year. Doesn't look like that's the case anymore. He's been pulled off the injury report, but I still like Dotson, who's a sleeper darling type from a fantasy perspective. Chris Godwin, a lot of questions about the Bucs wide receivers because no Tom Brady, it's Baker Mayfield. But this could be a very good thing for him in terms of the game script, which I think the Buccaneers will be playing from behind. And let's be honest, the Vikings, as good as they were last year record-wise, their defense was awful, especially against the pass. And then finally, if you need a tight end, Tyler Higbee's a pretty good play. No Cooper Kupp. We've already heard Matthew Stafford's wife come out and say, well, Matthew's not really gaining a rapport with his young players. I'm not sure he really wanted that to become public, but Tyler Higbee is certainly a guy who's got a rapport with, and the Seahawks were bad against tight ends last year. So Tyler Higbee is a player to certainly at least think about starting in the top 8 or top 10 this week if you don't have a great tight end. And a lot of people do not have a really good tight end, especially with some of the injuries going around, like the aforementioned Kelce.
Fab's 5 there with the starts. If you are looking for a starter, considering one player or the other. And just on maybe, I'm curious where you would put this, like Mostert and the backfield in Miami against the Chargers, who allow a boatload of rushing yards a year ago. Do you potentially elevate one of the backup running backs on your roster if you have a Dolphin, simply based on the fact that the Chargers have to prove they can stop the run before you actually give them some respect in fantasy points?
Now, Mostert's a good play. He really is. Jeff Wilson's on the injured list, so he's not going to be available. They've got the rookie Devon A-Chain behind him, but he plays a different role. As you mentioned, the Chargers are bad against the run. Like, honestly, if I had Raheem Mostert and Dalvin Cook, I'm playing Raheem Mostert this week. The matchup is really good, and it's going to be a high-scoring game.
Derrick Henry against the Saints defense. Henry, over the last couple of years, has started slow. He's a volume back. The Titans offense has started slow in week 1 matchups. He's a starter, I know, but do you think big production from him against the Saints D?
One thing that you don't do in week 1 is get cute. And Derrick Henry is a guy who you said is going to be a starter across the board. Whether or not he puts up a massive stat line remains to be seen, but they are going to feed him the football. We know that. And Derrick Henry is a guy, unless they're getting blown out, which I don't think that's going to be the case, he's going to get you 20 plus carries per week, and volume is king in fantasy football. And so with that said, you're going to start King Henry across the board.
You've drafted a couple of quarterbacks in the middle rounds and then late rounds. Maybe there's someone considering the average QB right now. Let's get to the sits and remaining on your bench, Michael. Where do you start at quarterback?
Not feeling good about Deshaun Watson this week. The Bengals defense was really tough on quarterbacks last year. They gave up the 4th fewest points to the position. They were, in terms of pass attempts, equating to fantasy points, they gave up the 3rd fewest. It's a really bad matchup for Watson. And let's be honest, we didn't really see what we were hoping we would see from Watson in the second half of last year. Now, running back, I get it. I know you got to play Najee Harris. I understand that. But I'm not going to come out here and tell you to sit the 3rd string running back from the Arizona Cardinals. Like, I got to give you something to think about. So Najee's going against the toughest run defense in the league from last year, the Niners. It wasn't even close. They were impenetrable. So if you're in DFS, you maybe want to avoid them. If you've got really solid backfield depth, you may want to avoid them. I don't know that I'd play Raheem Mostert over him, but I'd think about it. At wide receiver, Marquise Brown is on the injury report. He's questionable. If he plays, I'm not touching him because, first off, he's down 100%. Number 2, Joshua Dobbs is going to be the quarterback. He's a journeyman. The Cardinals are already tanking, and we haven't even played a game yet in terms of the Cardinals schedule. DJ Moore is a player that you probably have to play. Totally understand it. The matchup's not good against Green Bay. They were very tough against wide receivers last year, only gave up 13 touchdowns to the position. And then finally, another player, I get it. You probably got to play him, but Kyle Pitts, in 2 of his 4 career games against the Carolina Panthers, he's been under 5 fantasy points. They gave up the 10th fewest points to tight ends last year. And between us, I don't know how much faith I have in Kyle Pitts in 2023, considering what he did or did not do last year. And there was not a lot of positive press about him in camp. Not that reporters were out there saying that he looked terrible, but he's coming off a knee injury, and it was just very quiet around Pitts in Falcons camp, and I don't think that's a good sign. So he may have a slow start to the season.
I want to get a couple of your general rules and thoughts here. The flex position, just if I know you're in a lot of leagues, do you think you start more running backs or wide receivers in that spot?
Used to be running backs. Now it's wide receivers because I play in PPR leagues. And whether it's a half point or a full point, I'm typically siding with the wide receivers. In fact, that's why I drafted heavy wide receivers in the first 5-6 rounds, because I wanted to have 2 wide receivers in a flex or 3 wide receivers in a flex and be able to potentially start 4. I'm in leagues where you could start 5 wide receivers, and I wanted to have every one of those spots filled by the position, whether it was 3 wide receivers and 2 flex or 2 wide receivers and 3 flexes. Now, that doesn't say that you should always start a wide receiver. Raheem Mostert is a perfect example of a good flex play this week. Rashad White is a good example of a potential flex play this week. There's other players at running back who are going to get volume, who are going to be good flex plays. But if you're in a PPR league where the points for catches are so valuable, and the league has certainly become a passing league in the last decade, I think it makes more sense to go with the wideouts.
Does your tiebreaker go to projected points for said player?
I got to be honest with you guys. I never look at projected points.
That's all I look at. That's why I asked.
But I do this for a living.
Right.
Yeah.
And so,
that's why I need to know.
And so the projected points are important.
Can you set my roster for me? Because I'm doing it by straight up projected points every time.
All right. Explain why.
Yeah.
Well, first off, I go by what my gut is, what my stats tell me. And I'm not always going to agree with who's projecting points for ESPN's platform or Yahoo's platform or Sleeper's platform. As great as those people are at what they do, I'm not always going to, agree with them. And if we all agreed, it would kind of suck, right?
Yeah.
It wouldn't be any fun to do these prognostications every week. So I go by what I'm looking at in the stats. And sometimes it'll be in agreement with someone's projections and sometimes it won't. I honestly don't really read or look at other people's projections or content in the fantasy football community. There's a lot of people I respect, but I never want my opinion to be swayed by someone else. I want to give people my own opinion.
I just want to feel good that my projected points for the week are more than my opponent going into the weekend. Like I feel better
It's a
about
nice
the game day.
security safe blanket to put
No,
around
it is.
you.
It absolutely is. And when you get that grade from your platform on how you drafted, and you get that A+ and you're like, yes. Or you get that C and you're like, this platform doesn't know what the hell it's talking about.
Nope.
Like, it's fun, but at the end of the day, how much does it matter?
Well, it depends how many leagues you're in, I guess. Michael
find out.
Fabiano with us, SI's fantasy football expert and analyst. We love this. We're going to have plenty to react to next week and plenty of rosters to set whenever you join us next Friday. Thank you, man.
Good luck, guys.
Yeah, man. Same.
Thanks, Michael.
Michael_Fabiano is where you follow him for more advice. And, of course, he knows all things projections.
I was about to
more
just
than just the
shout,
points that we're looking at.
I was about to shout DeAndre Hopkins or Jackson Smith and Jigba to him on the way out. Because my projections say one thing, but he may say another.
Left for Hopkins, Michael. Raise your hand because you're not on right now. Left or right? I wonder which way he goes. He's holding up a left.
Hopkins.
Oh, right. Go with.
He's saying Hopkins.
Oh, DeAndre Hopkins is where you're going.
Yep.
We've got a break and then headlines next.
What you're experiencing is the bold taste of a Southern legend. Old Smoky Moonshine and Whiskey, authentic Tennessee mountain-style spirits. We believe in crafting flavors that were born from tradition but defy expectation, and pioneering a new experience with every sip. Because if it doesn't do this, it ain't this. Old Smoky Moonshine and Whiskey. Come on.
Welcome into OutKick the show. I am Clay Travis, your fearless leader. I am going to continue to argue that sports is one of the great unifying forces in all of American life. ESPN is a sinking ship. Democrats are now the party of the white, woke college graduate.
We live in a land of participation trophies.
You gotta lean into the turns. You really gotta lean into the turns.
When Leah Thomas walked in that first day, it got silent, and every girl was uncomfortable.
Very difficult to go back-to-back years in the NFL with the #1 overall pick.
I just think the way Anthony Bass handled this was so sloppy.
Oh, I think it's perfect.
And
I mean,
what he reposted and then how he did it.
He bent the knee and bowed. He was going to catch the ceremonial first pitch.
I've been out of LA long enough to have forgotten that libs, no matter how ridiculous the scenario, are gonna live.
Another week of inflation, another week with Biden with COVID, and another set of losers to crown.
People don't watch the WNBA on TV, in person, on a plane, on a train, on a bus, or on purpose.
The scary thing, Tommy, is in the history of this government, I've never seen them give anything back that they've taken.
Oh no, they never do.
And they won't.
When you're behind closed doors, when you're talking to plant managers, when you're having meetings, when you're with the team, was there an acknowledgement of any of this, an acknowledgement of the situation, the boycott, and then the doubling down about moving away from the fratty image?
We've seen coaches throw water bottles. We've seen coaches act like idiots. We've seen coaches slap other coaches. But I think if you're involved in carjacking, you're inherently a rotten human being. The level of stupid that sometimes gets on our YouTube chat just gives me a headache. You're born a male, play with males. You're born a female, play with females. Don't at me about it, people. I'm pissed off about this. I never did it before in my life, but Trump is being cheated. The American people are being cheated. We, ladies and gentlemen, are being cheated.
I believe this person is the greatest player anybody alive will ever see. How can you hate Derek Jeter? A guy's on-base percentage tells me his batting eye, and a guy's slugging percentage tells me if he's a threat. That's the kind of guy that throws a no-hitter, that effectively wild guy.
Old Smoky Moonshine and Whiskey, a bold taste of a Southern legend.
Just like that, the second hour is here, Friday edition. Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow, getting you ready for your football weekend. Happy week 2 across college football. We saw the kickoff of the NFL season last night. The Lions went to Arrowhead and got it done, 21-20 over the Kansas City Chiefs, ruining the celebrations as they raised the banner, flag, whatever they ended up doing. Patrick Mahomes said he didn't know, didn't come out for it. He was in the locker room, said that postgame, and now he's pissed off because he hates losing. He says he's embarrassed by losses, and he wants another Super Bowl, not worried about last year's title and last year's Super Bowl ring. Coming up, Kelly in Vegas will join us later this hour. We have Pick Your Poison and much more, and Gun Show will join us in hour number 3 in about an hour from right now. Looking forward to Mike Gunzelman from OutKick.com joining us here in studio. 6th and Peabody with EHOB Beer and Old Smoky Moonshine. Chad, the Lions do something that it's very hard to pull off. Winning in Kansas City and against Patrick Mahomes when you have to be aggressive. Even in a low-scoring game, Detroit extremely aggressive, and they just didn't screw it up. Meanwhile, KC dropped passes, allowed rushing yards. They allowed great accuracy on Goff's part, but also a lot of passes that went right by defensive backs that could have easily been knocked away. And they end up losing. They're 0-1 to begin the season. Detroit gets that jump start, and they validate some of the offseason talk that has happened. They do it against a roster that didn't have Travis Kelce and a roster that didn't have Chris Jones. Is there an asterisk next to this victory for Detroit the way Mike Tirico laid it out last night?
With all due respect to Mike Tirico, who's one of the best in the business and very good at what he does, there is absolutely no asterisk next to this win for the Detroit Lions. Why? Because no one believed they were winning even when they knew those two guys weren't playing. This is still a huge moment for that franchise. Let's not try to steal the glory from that moment and what they accomplished right as the clock hit 0 and mentioning that there's an asterisk next to it because of who did not play in the game. You mentioned Mahomes angry after the game, disappointed. Mahomes has that dog in him. There's no doubt about it. Watch quarterback series, and you see it right away. That guy has it in every possible way. And no one believed the guy possessing it, who is Pat Mahomes, was going to lose at home in the season opener to the Detroit Lions, even after those guys were out. When it was announced that Travis Kelce was going to sit, every single bit of analysis I saw said, smart move. Smart move to sit him in this game, get him healthy, keep him ready. It wasn't a lot of, well, Kelce's out. That means the Lions are definitely going to win now because they're so good. No one was really believing the Lions. Sure, everyone believes that they're better and that they should do better things this year. And certainly the city of Detroit and the surrounding areas believe it because they've got a waiting list for season tickets for the first time in their franchise's history. So, yeah, they believe. But really, did the rest of us believe? No. We thought Pat Mahomes was going to be Pat Mahomes. Someone was going to step up. I didn't think Kadarius Toney wasn't going to be able to catch a cold or COVID in this game. But I thought someone would do something, and I thought it would be Mahomes with someone else, and the Chiefs would win. That's what I bet. That's what I thought would happen. So I'm not going to downplay it because they were without Kelce and Chris Jones and act like it's some special exception win for the Lions. That win was special, period. There's no exception to it. That's a big-time win to go into that environment when they're celebrating a Super Bowl win the year before, Thursday Night Football, in front of that audience, and to see the Lions do it. I mentioned Pat Mahomes has that dog in him. Dan Campbell has that dog in him also.
Yeah.
And you're starting to see that now with this franchise. It's exciting. It's an exciting time to be a Lions fan. And there's not been a lot of exciting moments in this franchise's history in the last 30 years. They've got one of them now.
Just looking ahead to the Lions' schedule, 3 of their next 4 are at home in Detroit. Next week against the Seahawks in week 2, followed by a home matchup against Atlanta. They'll go on the road to Green Bay, back home against Carolina. So they have a schedule now based on this win that they can follow up with and continue to be the big talk, the big story of the NFL. Long road ahead, but a nice start because at the end of the year, no one's going to look back and be like, oh, 21-20. It's just going to be a win. And that's what Detroit needed last year. They needed one more, even though they kept Green Bay from getting that one more. And shipping Rodgers to New York against for the Jets against the Packers, and now they start Jordan Love. Without Christian Watson, by the way, on the road in Chicago. Watson's already been ruled out. Romeo Doubs is questionable with a hamstring injury. He was limited in practice. Depth chart an issue for the Packers there.
Yeah, it just didn't feel like last night when they won by 1 point. It didn't feel like, man, these Chiefs almost overcame two of their best players out and almost beat a good Lions team. It felt like an enormous moment for the Lions and a launch pad into the season. And here's what I know about Dan Campbell also. He will utilize this talk of, oh, you only won because those two guys were out the rest of the way. That's going to be used as motivation with this team when people start talking about that, Mike Tirico included, when he's saying that right when the game ends. So coaches use every bit of motivation they can muster, perceived or real or whatever it is. They're going to use it. I think Dan Campbell's going to use it. But what I saw was a really good Lions roster and some really good throws from Jared Goff mixed in at clutch moments of that game to get the job done.
Chad, the weekend ahead, I'm curious, and I hope that we have some of the same data that we're looking at from week one in college football. Some timing adjustments. We've seen that in Major League Baseball. That's been a big hit, pardon the pun. And we saw timing adjustments in college football that I'm curious if the game is actually shortened. The play on the field has been. Plays are down, or supposed to be on average, based on crunching the numbers in the offseason on what they felt like that by not stopping the clock after a first down would do, for instance. About what, 15 or 16 plays roughly is what they're expecting the number of plays to be down at the end of the game.
Yep.
But there is a viewer to Florida State LSU and posted this on Reddit. The fact that the game itself actually hasn't been reduced by all that much if you're a viewer, if you're a fan. They're just adding in more ads to the broadcast. And he timed this with two different stopwatches and posted this on Reddit. By the way, it's pitiful-bumblebee 775. But he's very accurate here. Game kicked off at 7:45.
One of my favorite follows.
Ended at 11:08 p.m. So the game was 3 hours and 23 minutes long. Keep in mind, the NFL wants their games on average between 3:05 and 3 hours and 7 minutes. That's the sweet spot for the networks. That allows CBS to get 60 minutes to start at 7 o'clock Eastern, get that full hour in. They like that. Game presentation time, right about 2 hours and 27 minutes of the 3:23. Ad time, 131 ads for 55 minutes and 48 seconds. Clocks, he starts the clock the moment of kickoff. Once the traditional commercials end, I stop the ad clock. So all of the bumpers where the show comes back for break saying, tonight's game brought to you by, that does not count as an ad. He's saying that's game presentation. So the ads were more than what he tallied, if you want to count those. He said things like, the game tracker or mentioning trivia or anything, that's also not counted as ad time. This was done with this writer, this viewer, having two phones, both with the clock apps open. It wasn't exact, but it's within a few seconds. The ads shown on the score bug or on the sidelines, not counted either. Conclusion, pretty awful. There's an entire hour of just nothing happening. That's why I don't think I'm going to attend any games in person this year. It's beyond ridiculous. This would have easily topped an hour had Florida State not pulled away and teams were driving using their timeouts. That's also key here in the amount of time that is being used for ads. So the networks are getting more ad time. And I think the push in the offseason with these rules changes were to reduce the time from a viewer perspective and a fan perspective in the stadium to make it more pleasing to the audience, to make it more appealing to those that are trying to view the average product. Not that you're going to watch your team, but the casual fan that's just interested in a college football game on a Saturday night on the West Coast. This isn't doing that. It's the same amount of time, roughly. And again, this is one game. I'm follow this as much as I can over week two. This is one game, but generally speaking, there should be some reference to it working. And I don't think it's all that different in terms of time spent trying to get to the final clock hitting 000.
Everything has always been done to tailor to the television audience. That's where the NFL for forever, and probably still does, has the advantage over college football, is it's the perfect television product. It fits neatly into that exact window of time they want almost every time in the NFL.
And by the way, they're going to want that now, especially with the Big Ten media rights deal. Spread across the networks. You've got the PM broadcast on. They want their local affiliates to be able to get their local news in and not be pointing back to network running them over by 34 minutes.
Yeah, and what we've lost sight of here, though, is the NFL, they get a lot of money in ad revenue.
Yeah.
But it's the perfect TV product. So what college did was the illusion of we're going to make the game move quicker and it's going to be better on TV. But their definition of better on TV is more ad space, that people want to watch more ads and more breaks in the action. And Hutton, you were at a game over the weekend that was obviously televised. I was at a game that was televised. The breaks when you're at a college football game are endless, it feels like. There are times when I'm just staring at the field at both teams, lined up, ready to go, just standing there for what seems like 5 minutes. I know it's not, but that's how long it feels when you're waiting on action and you're at a game and you want to see more plays and you want to see your team play. That's the part that's disappointing in all this. And you've seen Lane Kiffin voice his displeasure with it. Chip Kelly, during the ESPN broadcast of his game against Coastal Carolina, makes a crack at the halftime interview saying, hope you guys are getting enough ads in tonight, because that first half really went quick in terms of just actual play. I don't like it. If you're going to do something that improves the speed of the game and the overall experience, I'm open to hearing those things. This isn't one of them. This was a Trojan horse disguised as this is better for the viewer, and what it really is more ad time. Well, and that bothers me.
I want to include this. The NFL gets their ad time in. It's not like they make sure with the red hat on the sideline that you're getting those 3 breaks per quarter plus the 2-minute break. You've got the 2-minute warning in the second half, and you've got the flex break as well, which is that 30-second network break that they're showing and coming back very fast in between a possession. Point being, where the NFL reduces the time is on the 12-minute halftime. That's where they reach the 3:05 to 3:07. And I think whenever we get to the NFL model of what the Big Ten is doing, or the billion-dollar type contracts that we're seeing with the SEC, the $60 to $100 million per team per season, the next step, while they've added space, it seems, in college football where they've kept the revenue the same as far as ads for the networks, I think the next step is to reduce halftime. And I think we'll see that, even though I think the push was, hey, we're going to make this more appealing to fans, and we're not going to crap on the pageantry of what college football halftimes are. That's coming. I don't know how soon. It's as soon as the networks want it to. And I think it's probably as fast as next season or the year after, whenever the networks come back and say, yeah, we can't have 3 hours and 42-minute broadcast. We're over our time allotted, and we're running over into a first quarter of a doubleheader, or we're running into night programming that we have scheduled up against other things that we want to make sure we hit in full, not just joined in progress.
And I'm curious what's going to happen when these rights fees inevitably go down eventually, especially reading Clay's piece yesterday. If you buy that the cable bundle is going away and you've got cord cutting going on, which leads to more people buying streamers and paying for that, when ESPN goes to direct-to-consumer, will there be less commercials during that because they're getting $60 a month out of people at some point in time, or $50 a month, or whatever it is?
I don't think less.
All of those things moving forward, I'm curious to see how they play it out.
I don't think less commercials, because I think as far as the live audience is concerned, I think the majority of people are more willing to sit through commercial breaks for live sports. And live sports are specific to the SEC, Big Ten, and, of course, the NFL. So I doubt the networks are going to give back time, even though they may not want to pay as much based on the subscriber rate and how we're viewing the game.
They're not going to want to do that. My point would be, I wonder if the leagues themselves, because they're now going to start making less probably in the next contracts in some of these, maybe not the NFL, but almost everyone else, I wonder if they try to take back their games a little bit more and say, well, with less, you're also not going to get as much ad time.
Well, but
and we're going to speed the games up a little more.
Maybe speed it up, or they take back ad time and use it for their own revenue purposes.
Yeah.
Because
Could be.
advertisers, if you're
Could be a
marketing,
split.
you don't want the skip ahead. You know, you don't want to be able to watch for 5 seconds and hit skip ad. And you don't have to worry about that in the live sports realm, in that pocket, that window where you're sitting through the commercial break to watch your team in prime time on any of the major networks. That's what they have to their benefit.
Well, I like watching football.
Yeah.
I've never once in my life said, you know what I want? Less football viewing on the weekend and less games.
Isn't it about...
I just think it negatively affects those that attend games more than anything else. It's just tough there.
I totally agree. And it's already to a point where if you're going to an NFL game or college game for that matter, it's pretty much your entire day.
Yeah.
If you're going to a 1 p.m. Eastern kickoff on Sunday, you're using your entire day
and
either to tailgate, but by the time you get out of traffic and get home, it's time to get ready for your week.
But it's never been about the day to me. It's been about that. Now it's getting more about I'm annoyed being in the stadium because I have to stop and start and stop and start so much, and the breaks are so long.
And that's what bothers me. What makes it even more annoying is the teams are on the field ready to go.
Yeah.
And then there's this long wait and pause even after that. Coming up, we pick our poison. The NFL owner, there aren't good options, it doesn't seem like. Davey Hudson's got some, though. The NFL owner we would choose to take us to a Super Bowl. That's next on Hot Mic.
Hey, Davey Hudson of OutKick here. We are at SEC Media Days 2023 in Nashville, Tennessee. We're going to go talk to some players, see what they have to say. What's the best purchase you've made from an NIL deal so far?
Tag watch right here.
Far.
Best purchase? I probably just give it back to my son for real. That's probably my best purchase every time.
Man, pay my truck off. Definitely.
A house. My wife and I bought a house, so that's been huge. Being able to save that money up and buy a house.
This chain here.
The best purchase? I'd probably say helping my mom out with school.
Ooh, the best purchase? Probably the shoes. The shoes I got on right now.
The best purchase I made, well, the best NIL deal I've had is free steaks from Marksbury Farms, so keep me fed and beefed up.
With it?
Purchase? Probably a new golf bag. Or recently I played TPC Sawgrass this past weekend, and that was from I used that money from a deal I made, so that's up there too.
Probably getting my sister through college, helping my family out a lot. That's probably my best purchase I've done.
Best purchase? Probably my my mom and dad anniversary gift.
The best purchase I've made? I got a yoga mat the other day, and that's helped me a lot. Just flexibility and everything like that, so probably that.
Best purchase? My smile. Best purchase? I would say my best purchase was having my school supply drive.
Landon, what is your favorite sports movie of all time?
Remember the Titans for sure. Sport movie, I say Love and Basketball. That's my favorite.
Got to be Remember the Titans for sure.
Remember the Titans. I mean, it's top movie ever.
Probably Longest Yard.
I'd probably say Like Mike with Bow Wow. Yeah.
My favorite sports movie? Remember the Titans.
Air Bud.
Perfect answer, actually.
I really don't know. I don't have one.
Movie? I haven't seen many, but does Sandlot count?
Favorite sports movie of all time? Probably Coach Carter.
Ooh, sports movie. Probably The Express.
Happy Gilmore.
The Little Giants.
Amari, what was your most favorite sports movie growing up?
Remember the Titans.
Barbie or Oppenheimer? Which one are you and the boys seeing first?
I don't know the other one, but definitely not Barbie.
Oppenheimer, gotta be. I'm not against the Barbie movie though. I tried to recommend it. I was shut down pretty fast.
Oppenheimer. Come on now. You don't need to ask me that question. Oppenheimer looks good though.
What's Oppenheimer?
It's a movie about the atomic bomb. It's the big thing that comes out this Thursday.
Yeah, probably that.
Oppenheimer.
Wait, what was the other one?
Barbie or Oppenheimer?
The opposite of Barbie. The opposite of Barbie. Yeah, so I'm not.
We're going to see Oppenheimer and then follow with Barbie.
Solid choice.
I don't even know what Oppenheimer is. I don't want to see Barbie, though.
Oppenheimer, 100%.
Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer.
Say a little bit louder.
Oppenheimer.
Oh, we're going to watch both of them. Maybe on the same night. We'll probably watch. I think you got to watch Barbie first, just so you're not, Oppenheimer might be a little too intense. You know what I'm saying? So you warm up with Barbie and then you go to the Oppenheimer.
The second one. Oppenheimer.
Barbie or Oppenheimer? Which one are you and the boys seeing first?
Barbie.
Glad you're with us. 6th and Peabody, our location for the OutKick studio. Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow. 6th and Peabody, the home of Yeehaw Beer and Old Smoky Moonshine. Chad, how's the chat on YouTube today?
It's great. Popping off. That chat is.
Barely see your. Yeah, it's scrolling through. Typing away during the break there.
Oh, yeah. I've always got something. It's difficult while chatting in the show.
Yeah.
There are times where I have to be sort of brief, and I think that some of our people in the chat think that I'm really going at them, and I'm not trying to.
This is true. At one point during our 13-year run or whatever it's been now, Chad had to watch his tone in emails. Remember this?
Yeah, I got formally written up at one point because my tone was poor
in an email.
And
it comes like I tried to back you on this. I'm like it's dependent on you reading the email a certain way too. Like someone.
Yeah. Well, what's weird is I think tone is typically perceived as being poor when someone's very short with you.
Yeah.
Right. We know people in text that are always really short, or people that are on email are very short. That's where I feel like this person just doesn't want to talk to me, or seems a little snippy if they're being short with you. I'm very wordy in my emails a lot of times, and I'll say a lot of things, and it was taken very poorly by a former boss, and I got a formal write-up that they wanted me to acknowledge that my tone was poor in email. So I think my response to that was every time I was like an opening paragraph.
Yeah.
There was a prologue to my email that said, I want this email to be received in the spirit in which I'm writing it, which is with zero attitude. My tone is good. There is no bad vibes coming in this email. Here are the questions that I have. Then I have to go into the email after that.
And then what we did, we have a lot of inside references, but we'll tell you one. Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Ringo Starr on Stern would use this as peace and love, peace and love.
Peace and love,
and so
peace and love.
we would preface anything that was going to come across as negative.
With peace and love.
With peace and love, and then you hit send. And people just found out in the building.
With that.
They knew Chad's tone at that point.
If you opened with peace and love and then closed with peace and love, Chad Withrow, people knew that I wasn't trying to go after them. But I also, when you get formally written up for tone, it just made me really want to go back and get my money's worth. I'm thinking, well, if I gave you the tone I really wanted in the email, it would have come across more like this. What would the write-up have looked like if I said this? What I was thinking in the email instead of the tone that it came across.
So you may have to just say that in the chat. Peace and love. That's the new reference for Chad's tone there.
I get told this by my wife all the time, that my tone is bad. And even in coaching, she'll say things like, you don't understand. You don't see you when you get mad, and you might scare the girls that you're coaching when you get mad. I'm thinking, I have not had one girl say that they're scared of me and what I'm saying. And every time I do get frustrated, I try to close with something positive and encouraging. As even I'm getting on to them, I encourage them in the end of it. But look, this is why we need outside people to take a look at us, to listen to us, to read our emails and tell us if our tone is good or bad. Because I clearly can't see myself. There's a blind spot.
As many parents
that we all have
are
for
begging
ourselves.
to be a part of your team, I doubt that that's an issue.
Well, we got, our league is getting coaches kicked out of the league.
That's my point.
Written up. I've got texts or calls from different friends that coach, different teams that are having issues, and I'm thinking, I've not had big time knock on wood.
No issue. Only
I've not
umpires.
had one. Just scared Matt right there. Either that or I woke him up when I did that. I'll do that again. Every time we need to wake Matt up over there, we'll do this. I haven't had one problem with a parent. There's not been one parent coming to me with an issue. There's not been one problem with, hey, my kid doesn't like playing a sport
Got a
because
game
of
tonight,
you.
There's always that first.
So
you always remember your first. Chad's looking for that.
Teams play me and they lose their coach because of their poor tone. It's not me losing my team.
Certainly.
But we all have blind spots. We all have blind spots for ourselves.
We're not
I'm
looking
open to any and all criticism.
We're not looking to lose with our bets coming up this week, and Kelly in Vegas will help us with that coming up in about 15 minutes. Right now, time for Pick Your Poison. Here's Davey Hudson.
Yeah, Chad, you actually made the reference just there about you haven't lost your team yet. Well, there's a couple of MLB owners that I wanted to throw at you that you would want to have to lead your franchise. Now, obviously, it's a Pick Your Poison, so you're not getting good options either way you want to look at it. First on the list, we're going to go with the Angelos family. I know Peter Angelos, technically the owner, but his son, John Angelos, the one that everyone knows, is just putting everyone in that organization through the ringer. Nobody likes him, but John Angelos with Baltimore, your first option. John Fisher, the Oakland A's, soon-to-be Vegas A's owner, and Art Moreno with the Angels out in L.A. So of these three guys, which one, and again, new franchise, but they're leading your organization, who are you going with?
This is such a horrid list of options.
I need
So
to
you
know,
really nailed this.
There's
Pick
a
your
key
poison,
to this, though.
because there's not a good answer here.
Do I get the market with the owner?
I think you're just saying we pick our own market. This is for any team, right?
I will add for this. So whichever city is the next expansion city, you get to pick them.
Okay. Chad, you want to start?
Yeah, I'm just looking at this as just blanket. Like this person has to own my favorite baseball team in any market.
Fair.
So market doesn't matter. I am hell no to the Angelos family. I'm marking them out right now. They are dead last in my opinion. I think it comes down to John Fisher with the A's, which sounds crazy, or Artie Moreno with the Angels. I lean Moreno because at least he was able to sign Shohei Ohtani and employ Mike Trout and have some decent talent, and he spent some money to get those guys. Some of the decision-making hasn't worked out, inept in a lot of areas. My one caveat, though, with Fisher, Hutton, would be that he just tanked his team because he wanted to get out of Oakland. Like, is he actually
And
a
Oakland
decent
didn't
owner?
help him. The city didn't help.
No, they didn't help, but would he be a good owner in different circumstances if he wanted to be in the city he was at and had a nice ballpark set up? I don't know.
So
it's hard for me to judge on that one. So I'm leaning Artie Moreno, but it's close. And they're all bad. All these
They're
options
all
are
awful. Absolutely not with Angelos.
Good. We
Absolutely
agree
not.
that they're
And
last.
I'm the O's fan here. No. I'm leaning, and I came into this question, Davey. John Fisher's my answer. And it's based on the fact that Major League Baseball just gave him Las Vegas. Every owner, for the most part, the majority of Major League Baseball owners, NFL owners, NBA owners, it's going to LeBron, by the way, they would crawl to get in that market. And that's exactly what Major League Baseball is giving Fisher. So I like the pull that he has. Of the three, I'm going there, even though technically it's the LA quote-unquote market with the Angels. There's a reason why Stan Kroenke built the NFL Network studios whenever he built that stadium and got help to do it at SoFi. There are things that the ownership has to do, and Major League Baseball chose John Fisher as their answer to the Vegas franchise. I would lean that way. Again, it's an awful pick of the three, but I think it's the best of terrible options. Just for that reason.
It's a great question.
I like the answer. It's just like he does have pull. Somebody at least likes him enough to let him, make that move.
It's not like I like the way he's treated A's fans by any means, but I like the fact that
given a different circumstance,
here's the thing.
It's the unknown with him, right? He may be okay.
You can't go there and just not spend. You can't go to Vegas and just be the same. That just, to me, there's some type of assurance that is not going to happen.
If I wanted to push back against that, we look at the Davis family. There's concerns that they can't fire their coach because they don't have enough money.
Right, but that's because they spent money, and they're paying Adams. They just paid Jimmy G. They're still paying. They're trying not
well,
to.
It's very, very different though, NFL and baseball.
They put John Gruden as
there's a salary
the marketing.
cap in the NFL.
He was the face of the Raiders' move to Vegas. They did a huge show for it with the building of the stadium, and again, like Davis wants to spend. He may not be able to. He wants to spend, and he pays $100 for that bowl cut. The guy will spend money.
Okay.
So
speaking of the NFL and owners, our next question: which NFL owner do you want, or an NFL owner to win you a Super Bowl? And you got two options: Jim Irsay, Jerry Jones. They're not in their current situation. So again, we're starting a new franchise, and you got to take one: Jerry or Jim to get you a Super Bowl.
This is easy for me.
I'm going Jerry Jones. He's done it more times than Jim Irsay has, winning Super Bowls, plural. He's going to go all out. I think Jim Irsay is just a little bit crazy too, so that I deduct points for that. I will add points though to Irsay that I think that he will leave a good personnel guy alone. Right? We saw it for years. When they were in their high point there, when he had the right guy, but I'm going to go with Jerry Jones.
And this is just a new franchise, Davey?
Yes.
Just starting from scratch, it would be Jerry Jones, because whenever he purchased the Dallas Cowboys, he put every penny he had,
turned it around quick,
into that. Jim Irsay inherited the Indianapolis Colts, so that's the answer, and it's because we've seen Jerry Jones build it, and we saw Irsay inherited. Now, Jim Irsay has hired a Hall of Fame general manager in Polian, a Hall of Fame coach in Dungy, and they've drafted and paid a Hall of Fame quarterback in Peyton Manning. So that also goes in his favor.
Give me that setup, and I like him.
That goes in his favor. Jerry owns Jerry World at AT&T Stadium, and that, to me, he owns he's got a 99-year lease on that property.
But it's all about who. The question is, who will you take to win you a Super Bowl?
And the reasoning behind the question is because we've seen.
And I still go Jerry Jones.
Jerry come out recently and just micromanage his team, where it's like, I'm making this trade. I'm not going to talk to my coach or my GM. Well, he kind of is the GM, but I'm not going to talk to my guys before I do this. Whereas we've seen Jim turn it over, even though he is wacky. And I know it's not been great lately, but
we've also seen recently Irsay bring his star player and his best offensive player into his RV and piss him off to the point where he never wants to play for the organization again.
Well, Jerry, I don't like the fact that Jerry Jones doesn't have a general manager and it's him. But they've been 12-5 the last 2 years. He's drafted. If you look at their rosters, they're pretty good.
I don't think
he's not good at hiring coaches.
When was their last Super Bowl? See, this is a little different for me because I don't think they've won a Super Bowl.
They haven't, not since the 90s.
I don't think they've won one in my lifetime. So that's kind of why I guess
the Titans Oilers have never won one.
Well, I know that, but
yeah,
there are plenty. That's the Detroit Lions. What was the one you threw out the other day? JFK's only missed one playoff win for the Detroit Lions.
If you want something done in the league, you go to Jerry Jones or Robert Kraft. Those are the two people you go to sway votes with the other owners.
He did form a dynasty at one point. It's been a while.
To
your point, Davey, it's been 30 years since he built that dynasty, but he did do it.
Is Jerry living forever? Like for the last 5 years, I've said he's not getting any younger. I'm surprised he hasn't been more aggressive with the coaching staff. He had tons of patience with Garrett, and now patience with McCarthy, where they fire the OC, but not McCarthy.
I do stand corrected. They won it in 95, so I was 1 at the time. So that was the last one for the Cowboys. Guys, our last question, not sports related at all, but it's just one of those. I mean, it's pretty rough, but you have to send you accidentally send an inappropriate pick. Would you rather go to your parents or your boss?
My parents. Tougher to come. Your parents are always going to accept you back.
Which parent?
That's a good point.
Family group chat.
Yeah, well, family group chat would include a lot. Well, I've got like 24. My family group chat's blowing up right now. It's like 24 people on it. I would say parents. Why? Because your parents will always take you back. You can't repair that moment with the boss if it's truly inappropriate to text. And we all know what we're talking about.
No doubt. I mean,
we don't have to say it.
If we're sending it to Clay, I mean,
yeah.
At the time, whenever we joined OutKick, we sent it to Clay. I wouldn't be too worried.
No, Clay would probably respond with one as well.
You know, he'd be like, "Hey, let's write a column about this."
Yeah. There's a great moment in the show Succession where this happens, where the kid sends it to both his dad and his boss because it's the same person.
I agree. By the way,
in a meeting.
I say parents as well, even though I would be horrified, and I think my parents would disown me, quite frankly.
No, they wouldn't.
Over that.
They love you, Hutton.
I love them too.
Never happened.
But I would be terrified. I don't think Tom and Debbie would. Just like, oh, Chad.
It would be bad because there's a whole generational gap too of not understanding the technology involved in that. It's
they may not be able to open it properly.
Well, but that and also like they just wouldn't understand who does this, what is going on here, like what is happening. All of that I'd have to explain the whole thing, and then I wouldn't want to explain it. Just say, "Oh, I was hacked." That's how I'd probably end it. Somebody hacked my phone.
Davey, what would you answer with?
I've never done the picture thing. I will be honest. This question came because I accidentally sent an inappropriate message to my dad one time that was supposed to go to a group chat of just my friends when we were 19.
Yeah.
And so having to just backtrack from that and be like, hey, obviously this was not intended to you. So kind of covering, which I'm not able to repeat the message on the air, but it's one of those things where it's like.
Tell us during the break.
Yeah.
I want to hear what the message was now.
Probably just my parents.
Very dark.
It's like I'm not accepting a check from them anymore, you know?
Coming up, no inappropriate messages will be sent to Kelly in Vegas. Just winners, straight winners this weekend for us and you. Kelly Stewart, Kelly in Vegas, joins us next on Hot Mic with Hutton and Withrow.
Fan of Slim Shady, Eminem, kinda. The music, the moment you want, I get it. You know, you do that, that's fine. That's his song that I really liked. I turned it up, I would crank it up. And then it would make me sad because I figured my one shot at being a head coach was going down the tubes because I was playing football players, walk-ons, because everybody got hurt, but I digress. That's my introduction to Slim Shady. Now, Slim Shady is one of these fake tough guys. And I get it. Look, Slim Shady, we all saw 8 Mile or whatever the hell it was called. Great rapper, great wordsmith, can spin the caca. He stands in front of audiences, tough audience, brutal audience, and stared them down, rapped them down, and it was all good. But then I saw him acting like a freaking complete Joe Biden younger clone when he was with Herb Street and I think Musburger in the booth of an ESPN college football game, and I'm like, this dude's whacked out. This dude has become the vision of the solitary rock star / now rapper. Well, Eminem doesn't like karaoke. The other day, our guy, and he is our guy, Vivek Ramaswamy, he was rapping, yo. He was putting down them beats, yo. And he did a really good job on the stage of the song that I just said. Well, Eminem doesn't like it. Eminem doesn't like it. He sent a cease and desist letter to Vivek Ramaswamy because he don't like karaoke. Look, we can't even play it. Oh, look at that noted tough guy. We can't even play it here on our show because, well, there are copyright laws, and I probably just got us taken off YouTube for rapping 2 sentences or 6 words. I don't know. But this was pretty good by Ramaswamy. In fact, this was really good by Ramaswamy. Ramaswamy, the more you see him, the more you like him. The more you see Eminem, you just wish he'd kind of go away. Although I did also like that song that he did with Rihanna about burning the bed or whatever. I thought that was pretty good. It was catchy. You know, it was like Dick Clark in American Bandstand back in the day. Hey, the kids like it and you can dance to it. But hey, you woke crybaby. Sit down, Eminem. No one's given a rat's ass about you since I don't even know. That fake tough guy act is over. Morph into OG rapper guy. Tone Loc rapper guy. You know what I'm saying? Go away, don't be a little batch, and then come back, and maybe you'll get on the Super Bowl. You'll be the first act of 10. You'll be the only white guy. It'll be good. No problem. I'm afraid to even sing it because I did like the song. I don't know. But when Eminem stood there in a hoodie with what's-his-face, Musburger and Herb Street, I'm like, this guy's an idiot. And I'm all in on idiots. I am. I'm all completely in on these guys being idiots. Get your gold chain, get your little dad bod, and get the hell out of my life. The judge, I think all these guys are crooked. The judge has set former President Donald Trump's trial date for the shenanigans in January 6th for, listen to this, March 4th, which ironically is the day before Super Tuesday. That's right. The judge says, hey, Trumpy, you're going to get a 2-week extension, and we're going to put it right before Super Tuesday. You go, Democrats. See, this is what I've been saying the entire time.
Chad, I feel like at this exact time last week, we came back from a commercial break and said, man, it's time to win. Time to win again.
Yeah.
We're saying it again here at 6th and Peabody with EHOB Beer and Old Smoky Moonshine. Hot Mic with Hutton and Withrow across the
only
OutKick
one who
Network.
won, though, was not us. It's someone that's about to join us.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think I really won much last weekend.
You can win with PointsBet. If you haven't taken your shot with PointsBet, it's the perfect moment to do so. A big reason why, exclusively for the first-time PointsBet users, you can grab this offer. Place an initial bet of $50 or more on any game, maybe some games we're going to pitch to Kelly in Vegas in a moment, and receive an official jersey from Fanatics.com. Jerseys, if they're not your thing, you can opt for $150 in credit to Fanatics and load up on the gear that you truly want. Remember, terms and conditions apply, 21 and over, and in legal gambling states. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. And if you're ready to get in the game, head over to OutKick.com/bet. OutKick.com/bet right now is where you can snag this offer from PointsBet and discover more incredible deals from our partner Sportsbooks. Our partner here with some great advice, Kelly in Vegas, joins us right now, host of Bet On It. Kelly, congrats on last weekend for you, and you gave us good advice that we did follow, and it allowed me to break even.
Yeah, I barely broke even. I ended up 5-4 on the weekend. We lived to bet another week. Not the greatest, had some nice numbers, and, sometimes the games don't get played the way I'd like them to be. It is what it is. Let's see if we can't find some winners this week.
Okay, so Chad and I believe we have some winners. We're going to give you our top bet of the week, and if you don't mind, pick one that you like, or you like more than the two you hate.
We all know which one she'll hate.
And crush the
we'll
other,
go ahead and do it.
and place the bet with us if you so choose. I love the Week 1 matchup for the Atlanta Falcons, laying the 3.5 against Carolina. DJ Chark is out. Adam Thielen is questionable.
Please, no reaction, Kelly, until
Bryce
you hear
Young,
mine, too. Well, I want to be completely surprised when you pick your bet.
Bryce Young makes his NFL debut on the road. The Atlanta Falcons, as long as Ritter can be Ryan Tannehill of 2018, 2019 with Arthur Smith, they're going to run the football behind a solid offensive line. And, oh, by the way, over the last 20 years, 14 quarterbacks have been drafted number 1 overall. They are 0-13-1 straight up, 1-13 against the spread in their first career start. I'm laying 3.5. Chad, you have the floor.
So I've known this for years, and friends that really know the game have told me this for years. You do not go into Dowdy-Ficklin Stadium and come out of there with a win very easily. And that is on the campus of East Carolina University. Look, the wrong team is favored in this game. We'll get into that a little bit later also. East Carolina is a home dog to Marshall. 2.5-point underdog. Kelly, I know nothing about either one of these teams. I know that East Carolina got housed in the Big House by Michigan. But here's what I know about ECU. They play tough at home. I saw it a year ago. I watched a full game they played at home last year. Have not seen this year's team play yet, but I know it's a tough place to win. I'm going East Carolina on the money line at home as a slight underdog.
Listen, I love me some home dogs, okay? And what we saw last week in Michigan was just disgusting. J.J. McCarthy threw all over this defense. The problem is I would love to just completely expose everything Hutton said, because what we know is NFL divisional dogs week 1 absolutely crush 64-44-2 against
Not
the
this one.
spread. I understand. Listen, I am not rushing to take the Panthers by any means. I don't think I can lay it here with Arthur Smith's group. I think they're getting a lot of hype to start the season. But Chad, I think you picked a square home dog there. Marshall on the road since 2019, 14-5 against the spread. So I guess if I have to pick, I will tail Hutton and the Falcons.
Oh. I'm shocked, for one. Actually, I'm not shocked at all.
Why didn't you take Vanderbilt? I would have joined
he likes
on
that
Vanderbilt.
too. Well,
I would have.
I may do something with that later. I'm with you on that one, Kelly. I think there's something there.
Kelly in Vegas joins us, host a Bet On It. You can follow her on social.
She just hates ECU.
Very simple.
That's what it really is. All this anti-ECU bias.
Top 5 college bar. I love ECU.
I've never been to ECU. I've got a buddy who went there, and he says it is like the party school of America.
Yes, absolutely. Highly recommend it. It's almost like up there with Morgantown.
How many party schools of America are there?
There's
you
a bunch.
only hear about the parties, not the non-party schools.
There's a bunch. I heard someone on our YouTube chat said Tulane is the best party school in America. We talked Tulane
well,
Ole Miss
in New Orleans.
Yeah,
that would just from geographical location alone, you've got to get Tulane in the top 25.
You love Morgantown. I've seen you comment on this a lot on your various shows. That's a place I really want to go. I've never been. I don't think I've ever been in the state of West Virginia at all, and I don't live that far away. So should I go to Morgantown, and why?
You know, we got to get Morgantown back rocking and rolling. I haven't been for a few years because, unfortunately, their football team hasn't been any good. Obviously, with Bob Huggins' departure on the basketball side of things, they might not be very good this year either. I got to do some basketball research. But, yes, I think we should ask Clay if we can just borrow the bus and we just take a family road trip to Morgantown.
Get the bus towed up to Morgantown?
We'll just tow it there, and
as
then
long as
we'll
we're
arrive.
not driving, it'll be fine.
Well, if Clay's there, we won't be. But if he's not there, we will be driving. We'll fly somewhere and then drive 2.5 hours.
Good call.
A long flight for Oregon as they take on Texas Tech. What do you make of this matchup for the former quarterback against the former Auburn quarterback?
So we didn't talk about Wyoming and why I took them +2 touchdowns last week. They weren't supposed to win the game outright, you guys. That was not part of the plan.
We gave you a shout out, by the way.
By the way, Texas Tech is my Big 12 champion this year, and they
me
lost their first
too.
game at Wyoming.
That was not part of the plan. They were up 17-0. What happened? It was absolute abomination. Lost in double overtime, unfortunately. But I do think that means we're getting some good value here in an overreaction spot, right? I know we just gave Morgantown quite the hype, but have you guys ever been to Lubbock, Texas in prime time? I think it's going to be rocking. 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central time. It's going to be a great time now that they're no longer a dry county. But I think this is too many points here for the Red Raiders. They actually have the offensive firepower here to keep up with the Ducks. This one looks like a last score to win. I'll take almost a touchdown here with the home team.
So Colin Warner in studio here, our resident Notre Dame fan. I walk in and I tell everyone, I said, I need some winners this weekend. And he said, if you want a winner, go big on Notre Dame covering against NC State. Now, he's a huge Notre Dame homer. Kelly, are you going to give us some advice as to why we should not roll with Notre Dame -7.5 at NC State this weekend?
There's a lot of narratives here, right? I think there's been a lot of hype surrounding this Notre Dame team, and it kind of all resides with Hartman, right? And Hartman played in the ACC at Wake. So NC State has seen him the past 3 seasons, just 6 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. I think Dave Doreen's squad kind of played it a little light versus UConn. You know, we didn't see very much offensively, but I do believe that was by design. Look, you got 3 straight winners, outright winners as home underdogs with the Wolfpack over the past 2 seasons. I think they might get another one again here. Unfortunately, I will say this. I never like when the line moves against me, but last week we had 2 lines move with us and it didn't matter. So maybe it's one of those kind of things where the sharp market likes Notre Dame and we're alone on an island with the Wolfpack.
We're going to play these games individually. And Kelly, the first 3 matchups that you'll give us each week we'll also play as a parlay. The odds are 38-1 on the parlay. We need one more game. We're going Texas Tech with the points NC State with the points. And Rice, why Rice against Houston?
Oh, God, this is so gross. This was tough. I looked at Temple. I looked at SDSU. I tried to find another dog, but I settled on this Rice team. If you remember this game last year, and of course nobody does, what happened? Rice squandered away a fourth quarter lead late. They fumbled for a go-ahead touchdown, and you know that defense still has this one in the back of their mind. JT Daniels, third FBS school he's played for. This is going to be kind of tough, right? But last week, the Cougars got a win. Did they get some help? Yeah, of course. UTSA not only outgained them, but they gave them 3 turnovers here. I'm taking Rice with the more experienced quarterback, the better defense. I think +9 is a little too high. I think there's an upset possibly brewing in Houston. Unfortunately, we're not getting a home field advantage here because these schools are not even 5 miles apart. But if you take all 3 of these on the money line, guys, Rice, NC State, and Texas Tech pays 38-1.
There was actually something to lose last week in week 1 for Rutgers and Greg Schiano. That did not happen. They don't feel the pressure of losing to Northwestern. What do you make of the matchup against Temple?
I'm betting against them again, you guys. I took Northwestern. You know, sometimes as gamblers, we're like a glutton for punishment, for lack of better words. And that's unfortunate. Sometimes you just got to take your L's, but I do think I was right about this Rutgers team. I was just wrong about Northwestern. Temple last week, big scare, didn't cover against Akron, but Rutgers being a sizable favorite once again here is just downright disrespectful. The Owls have been good on the road, 12-7-1 in their first road openers to start the season. I expect this one to be a coin flip type game. Had a shot to get Temple here on the money line. I ended up not firing on them, but there is no way this line should be over 6. So we're getting immense value here with the Owls.
So I'm wearing the burnt orange today. And let's go rapid fire here as we wrap up because we got a couple more I want to ask you about. But are you even playing the Bama-Texas matchup based on, what is it, 4.5 right now? More than that.
It's 7.
It's 7, sorry.
So 7 is a big key number in college football. Obviously, a touchdown was 7.5. At 7.5, I made a case for Texas. At 7, I think this looks like a 7-point game, unfortunately. I think we could see a shootout. I was not impressed with Texas last week, as we just talked about Rice. I thought defensively, Rice was able to stifle them at several points in time. Bama, we're going to see what they're made of this year. You know, there's been a couple of down years in Tuscaloosa.
Kelly in Vegas with us on Hot Mic with Hutton and Withrow.
I think she's back now.
Oh, yeah, she's back now. Hey,
she froze up just for a second.
I'm so
just
sorry.
briefly.
We had a quick trigger there. Sorry about that, Kelly. We don't like dead air, so we just kept going with it.
Of course,
now you're back.
that was smart.
Hey, so
we got a thunderstorm here in South Florida, so I apologize if you guys lost me there.
So you like on last Saturday, I placed a wager. I took Texas plus 7.5 when I saw it open. You like that, so I'm sticking with this. I'm not going to cash out with the dollar less than whatever. In the NFL, is there a game that you're absolutely telling us to play?
Oh, boy, everybody is going to hate me for this one. I like the Colts. I'm going to take the +5. I'm going to roll the dice on Trigger Man Anthony Richardson. What are we going to see from him? Well, you're going to see exactly what we saw in Florida. He's going to be the next Jameis Winston. Is he going to throw a pick six? Is he going to throw a touchdown pass? Who knows, but we're going to have a lot of fun watching him. I can tell you that. We know he's athletic. We know no JT, and that's what's going to be kind of interesting here, right? It's already built into the line. I think a lot of people are starting to overreact. But more importantly, I will give the Jags the nod. Last year, they definitely impressed me, but I think we're giving them a little too much hype here in a divisional matchup. I got to say the Colts might win this one at home and everybody might just lose their minds. But this is a field goal game, so at 5, we've got a nice couple of point cushion here.
There's always surprises in week 1 in the NFL. It's about finding those surprises. So Kelly may have found one there. That would certainly surprise me, given all accounts of Anthony Richardson so far.
I would be very surprised, yes. I'm taking every under, by the way.
Yeah, there you go.
50% of the teams last year in week 1 scored 20 points or less. Take the under. It even hit last night with 2 offenses that score a lot of points.
I lost playing the over last night, so definitely take the under.
Oh, Chad, that does not surprise me. I don't blame you. I wouldn't want to take a Chiefs under either. But yes, Hutton, you are correct. Divisional unders especially.
Okay.
Great bets in week 1.
Kelly in Vegas. It's very simple to follow her on social. Just follow at Kelly in Vegas, host of Bet On It. Thank you as always. Thanks for the winners.
Hey, thanks, guys. Good luck this weekend.
Same for you.
I'll get the last laugh when ECU wins.
Enjoy watching Texas Tech instead of Bama and Texas.
Stay safe from that
she's
thunderstorm,
got like 50
too,
televisions
or whatever's
in
going
front of
on
her.
down there in South Florida.
Yeah.
She's got like the Bloomberg panel in front of her, like she's a day trader of all the games, nonstop.
Yeah. Well, she probably has TVs for – she probably has the same game on multiple TVs because of the setup there. Yeah. Very simple. Coming up –
we got Guns.
Gun show is waiting at the door or something. Yeah. Mike Gunzelman joins us. We have our dumpster fire of the week. 3 excellent answers that we bring to the table. We have, let's see, our perfect bets plus great previews. Big game in Tuscaloosa.
We have
Texas and Bama. We'll tell you who's winning and why. It's all straight ahead. Final hour, Friday edition. Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow across the OutKick Network.
What you're experiencing is the bold taste of a Southern legend. Old Smoky Moonshine and Whiskey, authentic Tennessee mountain-style spirits. We believe in crafting flavors that were born from tradition but defy expectation. And pioneering a new experience with every sip. Because if it doesn't do this, it ain't this. Old Smoky Moonshine and Whiskey. Come on.
Welcome into OutKick the show. I am Clay Travis, your fearless leader.
I am going to continue to argue that sports is one of the great unifying forces in all of American life.
ESPN is a sinking ship. Democrats are now the party of the white, woke college graduate.
We live in a land of participation trophies.
You gotta lean into the turns. You really gotta lean into the turns.
When Leah Thomas walked in that first day, it got silent, and every girl was uncomfortable.
Very difficult to go back-to-back years in the NFL with the number 1 overall pick.
I just think the way Anthony Bass handled this was so sloppy.
Oh, I think it's perfect.
And what he reposted
he
and then how
he bent the knee and bowed. He was going to catch the ceremonial first pitch.
I've been out of LA long enough to have forgotten that libs, no matter how ridiculous the scenario, are gonna live.
Another week of inflation, another week with Biden with COVID, and another set of losers to crown. People don't watch the WNBA on TV, in person, on a plane, on a train, on a bus, or on purpose.
The scary thing, Tommy, is in the history of this government, I've never seen them give anything back that they've taken.
Oh no, they never do.
And they won't.
When you're behind closed doors, when you're talking to plant managers, when you're having meetings, when you're with the team, was there an acknowledgement of any of this, an acknowledgement of the situation, the boycott, and then the doubling down about moving away from the fratty image?
We've seen coaches throw water bottles. We've seen coaches act like idiots. We've seen coaches slap other coaches. But I think if you're involved in carjacking, you're inherently a rotten human being. The level of stupid that sometimes gets on our YouTube chat just gives me a headache. You're born a male, play with males. You're born a female, play with females. Don't at me about it, people. I'm pissed off about this. I never did it before in my life, but Trump is being cheated. The American people are being cheated. We, ladies and gentlemen, are being cheated.
I believe this person is the greatest player anybody alive will ever see. How can you hate Derek Jeter? A guy's on-base percentage tells me his batting eye, and a guy's slugging percentage tells me if he's a threat. That's the kind of guy that throws a no-hitter, that effectively wild guy.
Old Smoky Moonshine and Whiskey, a bold taste of a Southern legend.
Just like that, the final hour is here, Friday edition. Hot Mic with Hutton Withrow across the OutKick network. That includes on YouTube, where you can stream the show live, join Chad in the chat. Catch all of the great programs and shows there, including the brand new show that launched this week with Charlie Arnold. OutKick the Morning with Charlie Arnold every weekday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern. You can go back and watch from today, yesterday when the show launched as well, back on Monday morning. Check out OutKick the Morning with Charlie Arnold across the OutKick network. Chad, we've got Dumpster Fire of the Week in just a moment. We could easily say Kadarius Toney as an answer based on all the drops last night as
Block hands.
Detroit wins 21-20.
That was tough. That last drop, I legitimately felt bad for the guy.
Yeah,
And Patrick Mahomes' reaction to it, I felt bad.
When do you approach Mahomes if you're Toney after the game and say, "Hey man, don't ignore me if I'm back on the field"?
Immediately.
I don't know. Yeah.
I say it before we get off the field.
And I'm not
into the
sure if
locker
Mahomes
room.
should go back to it.
No, I thought that after that last drop and the next pass went to someone else, thinking I'm probably going to look away from him wherever he is in the formation.
Tony's not one of our answers, but it is time for Dumpster Fire of the Week. Davey Hudson also joins us. Gun Show will be with us in just a moment. I think it's a pretty easy answer here based on our conversation this week, going into the weekend, for the battle of supremacy and the rights contract for the bundle package that is Charter, Spectrum, and the negotiation with Disney and ESPN. Going into the weekend, as of today, ESPN, the network that will have Monday Night Football, that will have Aaron Rodgers hosting the Jets hosting the Buffalo Bills on Monday night. That game will be blacked out on Charter. That is the leading cable provider in the New York City area and in Buffalo. Charter has around 15 million cable homes in the country. They're not currently carrying any Disney-owned networks. That includes ABC and ESPN. Around 800,000 cable homes in New York City are on this Charter plan, on this bundle. They will not be able to tune in and watch Monday Night Football. The leverage with this game is with ESPN and Disney right now. But I'm hoping that we see Charter hold firm, because the push is going to be, and the PR move, the marketing move, is going to be all about how bad Charter is to its customers. Here's hoping they withstand the onslaught that's headed their way Monday night, when Rodgers and all eyes across the country will be zeroed in on that matchup to see what happens with the Jets.
This is a great example of when companies get so big, they truly don't care about you. They don't. Charter and Spectrum is a great example of this. Like, Disney's not lying when they say that.
I want them to hold firm.
They have you already because of your Wi-Fi you're paying for through these companies. So them coming back and saying, oh, well, if you don't like it, then just go get Hulu or YouTube TV, is such a slap in the face of their customers. But these companies are so big, they do not care about customer service because they're going to make money regardless, and they know it. And now we got a situation where they're actually saying it out loud.
Yeah.
The stuff they think about in private and they talk about in boardrooms, they're saying it out loud to their customers, and this weekend's going to be another great case
study. It's already
of that.
happening just based on the U.S. Open that's happening there.
Yeah.
You can't watch that based on this.
So I'm going to go for my dumpster fire, the Spanish Soccer Federation brouhaha that might lead to a guy going to prison for 2 years for kissing a girl. This is insane. This is just complete insanity. And it's all something that probably could have been handled with a sincere apology. And I'm talking about Luis Rubiales and Jenny Hermoso. So for those that are unfamiliar with the story, Spain wins the Women's World Cup. And during the celebration, they're presenting the cup, they're presenting medals, they're doing all these things. The head of the Spanish Soccer Federation, the president, chairman, whatever his title is, in a moment of joy, grabs Jenny Hermoso by her face and gives her a big smack right on the lips. And afterward, he said, hey, we were caught up in the moment, this and that. Then he claimed it was consensual, to which that really pissed off Jenny Hermoso because she said, oh, no, that was not consensual. And now charges have been filed. And now the guy faces up to 2 years in prison for sexual assault. This is something that probably could have been settled behind closed doors with him approaching her and saying, I was completely out of line. I am so sorry. I will issue an apology saying I was completely out of line. Know that that was just me caught up in the moment, and I'm sincerely sorry. Instead, ego got in the way. I think people probably got to Jenny Hermoso's ear also about what she should do and how she should represent herself, even if she was really offended or really mad to begin with. I think a lot of different factors contributed to something that could have been cut off at the pass by simply apologizing. Instead, we've got an enormous dumpster fire in Spain. So for the rest of Europe, I'm sure they enjoy that. Spain, the Spanish Soccer Federation, certainly does not.
Davey?
Yeah, well, guys, my dumpster fire of the week, something we haven't exactly talked about so far this week, but we have discussed how Clemson, no longer a top-tier program. Well, I have a program that I'm about to add to that list of no longer being a blue blood, and we're talking about Kentucky basketball. And you might be saying, why Kentucky basketball? Well, the situation they have at hand is they had a recruit, a 7'2" Croatian kid, Zvonimir Izovic. I'm probably butchering that, but it doesn't matter. But what is happening is he has not been admitted into Kentucky because there's like this English scoring test that they're like, not accepting his. It's a cold day in hell when Kentucky does not accept a kid due to his academic fulfillments and requirements that he has or has not passed at this point. Again, this could be resolved, but all the people up in Kentucky are having a field day about this. They are not excited, and if they're not going to let them in, 95% of Kentucky people that applied were accepted, and yet we got a guy who's a potential five-star candidate that's not going to be able to come there. They're already in shambles because of how this recruiting class is stacked up with losing everybody last year. If they don't get this kid, could be some really rough things in the Bluegrass State.
I mean, there's not a ton of Kentucky basketball players who showed up to play school. They've had a lot of one-and-dones. I'm unfamiliar with why suddenly academics are such a priority at Kentucky. Hutton, this reminds me of my buddy Jake, who you know, who in the middle of Tennessee's mediocrity in the SEC or below, I think there was like an ad during a game on the Jumbotron for all academic SEC team members, and then something about like the Department of Science and what they were up to. And he turned to me and said, "This is the problem. We've become too academic." That was his issue with university and the football program. Our problem is we've become too academic. So whenever I see anything for a school that's promoting their school, I always jokingly say, well, here's the issue. This is why they don't win enough games. They've become too academic. Now we can say the same about Kentucky basketball.
Everyone wants to rip the opponent's player that will say something like this, but if you're a diehard fan like Ohio State's Cardell Jones, we ain't come here to play school.
Yeah.
Classes are pointless. That's what you're talking about.
Keep in mind, this was someone who is a fan of this program.
I know.
That was saying about the program, we've become too academic. This is our problem why we can't win in football. We've become too academic.
The
gun show?
The gun show is here. Speaking of academic,
Let's
here he is.
Nothing academic about this guy.
Mike Gunzelman, OutKick.
I was a double major.
Of course you were.
You want to know something great? I was like a 3.94 honors courses my senior year of high school. I go to school, Fordham University in New York City. I found out that
Rams.
Go Rams, let's go.
Yep.
FU Rams, let's go.
That's right.
I found out that you didn't really need. You were allowed to just drink for being a human in the Bronx, and I went from a 4.9 to a 1.6.
Amazing.
I mean, 3.9 to a 1.6. Let's just say that first semester going home, Papa Guns was not happy with me.
That was a semester where I'll take a 1.6.
I was top 10% of my high school graduating class, in a class of like 500. Got to school one semester, pledged to fraternity, had a 2.0. After one semester.
Balanced man.
And I was a balanced man, my ass, is what they were saying. That fraternity
balanced
that
man
missed out on me was
scholarship
like, man,
winner is Chad Withrow.
There wasn't a lot of balance there. This guy had I was balancing kegs is what I was doing. I was balancing nothing. I certainly wasn't balancing academics during that time.
So funny.
But I was on academic probation guns at that point for having a 2.0, and I think I got a 4.0 the next semester.
Yeah, I definitely had to pick it up.
I buckled down, then I was up to a 3.0.
4 honors courses, 2 of those being AP classes. classes and I go to college and I have a 1.6. It was a rough holiday for sure.
Hey, dumpster fire there with the 1.6. You have a dumpster fire of the week. You heard ours.
Let's play on the word fire. Burning Man.
There you go.
I mean, you can't beat it. It's so hilarious just because it happened to the greatest people ever. Just from them showing up. Remember, on the way there were all the climate change protesters that like blocked the one road in and one road out. And you just knew from then on it was just going to be an absolute mess. And it was a mess, all right. And what was even greater is the fact that you had like Diplo and Chris Rock, all these celebs were like, yo, peace out. They're all supposed to be quarantined and isolated.
They're in the back of a pickup truck trying to get out of there.
Yo, we are out. Meanwhile, everyone's like, what am I supposed to do? Just an absolute mess. I mean, it was trending all weekend. I just find it hilarious. I like when I don't know what it says about me, but I like when bad things happen sometimes to people, as long as they're safe, you know?
Yeah, just like we
hurt.
discussed, like think about like Diplo and Chris Rock with just normally they have their own way to get out, right? Like they never interact.
Well, imagine if
with
this was like
the other side.
Yeah.
And now they're in the back of a pickup truck. Like,
they're having to be there.
What are we doing?
It was funny. I saw the video where Chris Rock is saying I would kill for a cold brew right about now. Was joking when he was in the back of the pickup truck. What if this happened at like Yellowstone Fest? Or Sturgis with all the motorcycles. Like, I'm trying to think of the music festival where there would have been no issue because everyone would have had a huge truck and just gotten right out of there and driven past people and helped people out. Yeah, this is probably one of the worst crowds to have any form of natural disaster hit.
Nowhere to go.
You're on your own. They're just like, what? But I also feel like
the Fire Festival wasn't exactly survivalist, right? When everything went south there also. So.
Yeah. They weren't stuck and literally. I mean, they were stuck, but they weren't physically stuck.
Woodstock
into the
99.
ground. Yeah,
kind of comes to mind.
Yeah. I feel like every celebrity though and every elitist should have to go through something like this. You know what I mean? Like stop with your private jets. Like get stuck in the middle of a desert.
It brings them closer to their people, right? It brings them closer to us.
We're funding you anyway. We're the one buying your albums and your tickets. Be like us.
Join us.
Chad and I are in a fantasy football league together.
Okay.
We don't have a punishment. Like last year, we were all in the same league with OutKick, and I actually followed through with my punishment, unlike Clay Travis.
Yeah. Clay doesn't even update his team, right?
I think he had
Clay
Kelsey
will
starting.
join leagues, and then he won't do anything with it, and then he'll claim mogul status as to why he's too busy to do it every single time.
I want you to have time on the floor here.
Yeah.
What is the punishment for the league that you're in, and how do you expect to follow through with this?
Okay, so I'm in multiple leagues, not nearly as much as I used to because the rise of sports betting and sports gambling has really taken away from the fantasy aspect. Now it's pretty much just a way to communicate and stay in touch with either my buddies now or my whole high school buddies at still. It's like we talk like only during fantasy football season and then not the rest of the year. But I'm in a league right now called Lombardi's Rejects. Shout out to them. They're all watching right now.
Winners.
Let's go.
There Winners.
All right, Lombardi's Rejects. Baby. Let's go.
1.6s.
FU Rams
for life. FU
Too
Rams.
academic.
Our punishment is, and you need a punishment. First of all, you have to figure out a punishment. You can't do. You need to have a reason not to.
It'll
finish
probably
it last.
be chugging the White Lightning out here.
Yeah, it's a moonshine or something.
Yeah.
Ours, however, is whoever finishes in last has to retake the SATs live on YouTube or Twitch. You know how we have the old practice books from them, and they have to sit down for. It's about 4 to 6 hours. I don't know. It's been forever, but you have to do it, and it's live streamed. So we're going to promote it, and people are just going to be hopping in and out. Imagine learning about isosceles triangles and stuff now. Or
do you have to study for it also, or can you just go in blind?
I mean, even if you go in blind, like everyone's going to see how much of an idiot you are.
Oh, of course.
Dude, taking the SATs down would be a disaster.
Who came up with this in your group? Was it you?
No, my buddy, the commissioner actually did. So I got to give props for props too. But that's a good one.
Shout out to the commish. That is brilliant.
Yeah, and you have to. Like, it's the boys. A couple of them are musicians and stuff, lead singers. Like, you have to do it. Otherwise, you're going to get called out.
Earmuffs for the kids out there. I mean, what is the purpose of this standardized test? I've never been asked to show my diploma. But I had to take this test in order to go to college.
Since going to college, I've never had to cite my
isosceles triangle.
score.
I haven't thought about since my junior year of high school. Like, that's how important it is in my life. But yet I had to know it for this test in order to continue my life beyond the high school diploma, which I've never been asked.
I mean, I can barely read.
The only diploma I had to show was that I graduated high school to get into college.
Yeah,
that's it.
Unbelievable. I mean, did you imagine? Think about the SATs. It's like word associate. I'm on camera. I'm with you guys. We're on air, etc. I crush it with everything I do in life.
You do.
You had a 1.6 at Fordham? I mean, who needed it?
I graduated with like a 3-something, but still, I had nothing to do with the SATs.
Yeah.
But like those ruler things that you had, geometry. Like, no, I don't need that. So anyway, that is a great punishment, though. But it also goes to show, just find a craft. Find a different craft than the SATs, and you'll be just fine.
Unless you are a doctor or something specific to your degree that you have to be trained in.
Right, yeah.
I really think college is just a test for employers to see if you can complete a task, start to finish, in a long period of time.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's it. They don't care about your GPA.
Yeah.
They don't care what honor society you were in or what extracurriculars you had. It's all about, can you show up on time, take these allotted tests.
Are you a balanced man?
Exactly.
Yeah. Did you accept the $1,000 scholarship and then not pledge?
Yes, I did. Yes,
Can you be
I
like
did.
Chad and rage to 4 a.m. and make your internship at 8 a.m.? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's what you
or
got to do.
just drop classes right before the first exam and then try to take 2 more the next time.
The other, real quick, the other, so I've been in multiple leagues, obviously, throughout my life. The other one that was really great is the loser had to get a tattoo. And it had to be at least an inch in diameter. And the champion, the commissioner, whoever won, it wasn't commissioner that year, but the champion ended up, you had to get whatever they told you to get. And needless to say, it was male genitalia. Is on my buddy. Kerwin's.
I hope he's got a lot of other tattoos.
On his body. Oh, no, this is the only one he's got.
Oh, man.
But that's the incentive.
Is it a tramp stamp as well?
Unreal.
Guns, you brought it, man.
That's
you
how
bring
we
the
roll.
energy every time.
Let's
Great
go,
job.
baby. Hot
Gun
mic on
show.
a
Love the hat,
Friday.
too.
Bowling.
Coming up, Chad
NFL
Withrow's
Sunday,
top
first
college
week.
football games of the weekend.
Let's bring the energy. Weekend is here. Let's go.
Bowling.
Next on Hot Mic.
Let's go.
I'm here at the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix, but that's not the only big race that's on people's minds. Let's go talk about it.
There's no way Biden can win again. There's just no way. Even the people that voted for him because they didn't like Trump, now at least have to see like senile, not all there. Probably won't be alive for 4 more years.
Are you a Trump guy? Or are you a DeSantis guy? Or someone else?
I don't like any of them.
Who's your dream candidate? Who would you want to run?
Myself. I think the best candidates probably are smart enough not to run.
I just hope there's somebody that's young enough to care about the country instead of their politics.
My fear is they get Gavin Newsom from California. And I think it would be the new cool vote for the younger people, and that's what I don't like.
Who do you think on the Republican side would be able to take on Gavin Newsom?
Great question. As a Republican registered, I love what Trump's body of work did, but they're just out to get him and destroy him, and we won't get things done, which is crappy for me to say. I thought DeSantis was going to be the guy. Trump only has 4 years left. He cannot fix everything that just happened in 4 years. And he's going to be battling indictments and all these false stuff for the next 4 years. We won't get anything done. And it'll just be the stalemate in America. That's why I almost don't want him in. But if he is the leading candidate, that's who I'm going to vote for.
Is there any Democrat that you would vote for, consider voting for?
Absolutely not.
What about RFK Jr.?
No.
Who should our first female president be?
Michelle Obama, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Harambe 2024.
We have the 2024 presidential race coming up, and I wanted to see who you thought your favorite TV characters would vote for. Homer Simpson, who do you think he would vote for?
Donald Trump, all the way.
Vito Corleone.
Whoa. Whoever advances the cause of the Corleone family. Yeah.
Tony Soprano. If Tony Soprano is voting in the 2024 election, who do you think he's voting for?
I'm going to go Ron DeSantis.
Okay, why do you think that?
Just seems like a Ron DeSantis kind of guy.
Is this a meatball joke that you're trying to make right now? What about Homer Simpson?
Homer would vote for Biden because he's a dope.
Who do you think Napoleon Dynamite would vote for?
That's a good question. I actually don't know.
There's a right answer here.
He's voting for himself or Pedro. There's a Viking show, I think.
Okay.
Maybe that's Hulu. I don't know.
So in the Viking show, whatever the main character is, who do you think they would vote for in 2024?
Probably a goat or a dog.
I think we have one of those in office right now. So who do you think Jon Snow would vote for in this upcoming election?
I'm going to say Donald J. Trump.
Why do you think so?
Because Game of Thrones is all about drama, and Trump comes with the drama, baby.
Would you vote for Trump from jail?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably. Because at that point, what else do you have to lose?
Okay, would you vote for Trump from a jail cell?
Yeah, baby, I will get Trump out of jail.
Would you vote for Trump in jail?
Oh, yeah.
Based as
The thing that Trump needs to remember is there's another political figure that said, I don't recall very well. Yeah. And that's all he's got to say.
Is there like a dream candidate, someone that you think could like save us all?
Yeah, Jesus.
Amen to that.
A really fast-paced show today, getting to the football weekend. Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow rolls on across the OutKick network. Join us on YouTube. We say thank you to the great radio partners carrying the show. Join chat in the chat, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Search out OutKick, pound the like button, and you can also hit that clock, the alarm clock. It will allow you to get some updates whenever we go live and any show across the OutKick network.
Just pretend, Hutton, when you're in that YouTube page, that it's like you're in a cockpit in a plane and the captain just lets you just hit everything, every lever. Just click on everything.
Click on everything.
Except unsubscribe. Don't click on the unsubscribe if you're subscribed, but literally everything else. There's also a thumbs down button. Don't click that. But everything else, thumbs up, share it. Subscribe if you're not. The bell.
Do everything.
Heart. There's hearts next to the
That's what I should
post.
Can I just say do everything?
Just do everything.
Yeah. Search out OutKick, do
That'd
everything.
be a good T-shirt. Do everything. You know what? We'll do it all.
There are 10 games that you have to watch. Not do, but watch. Or do watch. And it's time for Withrow's top 10 games of the college football weekend.
Need more reasons to watch college football? It's time to bang some hats. Here's Chad Withrow's must-see games this weekend.
It is definitely time to bang some hats this weekend.
Yes.
You know where they're going to be banging some hats, and I'm talking old school fashion.
Go ahead.
Iowa at Iowa State, the Cy-Hawk game.
Already?
This is one. Oh, yeah. They meet very early in the year, non-conference. They decide to get in there. And
the kickers take the unders in this game.
For 3 yards and a cloud of dust. Tight ends get the game plan. They say, yep, going under again.
Yep, double tight.
Brian Ferentz, the offensive coordinator at Iowa, needs to average 25 points per game or better for him to keep his job. I love this. This is the end of the Nepo baby, Brian Ferentz. He scored 24 in week 1 against Utah State. The final score of last year's Cy-Hawk game was 10-7. Iowa State won in Iowa City.
They have to have 7 wins as well.
This game,
as part of this.
This game is in Ames, Iowa. Battle of Cade McNamara versus redshirt freshman Rocco Becht will be the starting quarterback for Iowa State. Cade McNamara, former Michigan quarterback. This is always an eventful rivalry game. It's been low scoring in recent years. I expect it to be so again. Game number 10. That game is at 3:30 Eastern Time on Fox.
Great games this week. I'm glad you included this one.
Yeah, and I mentioned yesterday some of the ones that did not make the cut, which are good games. Here's one that did make the cut. Number 9, Utah at Baylor. Baylor trying to come back after a devastating Week 1 loss to Texas State, where they just got handled. Was nothing fluky about it. Texas State was better. I think Baylor's better than what they showed. Blake Shapen out for Baylor at quarterback. Sawyer Robinson actually put up some pretty good stats when he came in. He'll get the start in this one. He will take on the two-headed quarterback monster of Bryson Barnes and Nate Johnson for Utah. They are both filling in, of course, for Cam Rising, the great Utes quarterback. Did a great job against Florida. You're going to see Nate Johnson run it, Bryson Barnes throw it for the most part. Utah, very physical team, 8-point favorite on the road in Waco against Baylor. This is the noon Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Central ESPN kickoff. This is a battle of the backups with quarterbacks in this game. Game number 8. Let's go a little bi-coastal action. SEC meet ACC. That's right. California will be in the ACC next year. Auburn at Cal. This is your classic SEC-ACC matchup that you want to see. Forget South Carolina, North Carolina. Nothing screams SEC-ACC like Auburn-Cal. This game in Berkeley. Cal's offense, which they have not been known for offense under Justin Wilcox, really good in week 1. They scored 58 points in a win at North Texas. I thought that game would be a lot closer. I thought North Texas might win at home. They're going to be a contender in the AAC, but no, didn't happen. Cal looked great. Justin Wilcox may have his best defense there. And for Auburn, that was the big question mark. They didn't score any points under Brian Harsin, so they went out in their opener and scored 59 against a UMass team who'd already played a game. Peyton Thorne, good ground game for Auburn in week 1. Exciting matchup. Hutton, this is your Pac-12 after dark game.
I really like this game.
9:30 Central Time on ESPN.
Cal rushed for 350 yards on like 50 carries a week ago against North Texas on the road. And an interesting note here, you've got Sam Jackson, the quarterback at Cal, who's a transfer from TCU, and Peyton Thorne, who's a transfer from Michigan State at Auburn. They were high school teammates. Thorne was the quarterback whenever Jackson played wide receiver and then took over for Thorne. So enjoy. And an interesting matchup on the West Coast where they're from.
Game number 7. Colin's about to get very excited. His Notre Dame Fighting Irish, number 10 in the country, going on the road to take on NC State. Noon Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Central on ABC. Notre Dame is 7.5-point favorite.
Sorry, I thought this would be higher on your list, Jeff.
There's some really good games this week, as we're going to find out on the week with the games that are higher on the list. Are the Irish for real? That's really the big question mark, right? Looked great against Navy in Dublin. Did whatever they wanted against TSU in a 56-3 win. Sam Hartman, clearly an upgrade at quarterback. Sam Hartman in the ACC a year ago at Wake Forest threw for 400 yards and 2 touchdowns against NC State. Kelly in Vegas pointed out also had some turnover problems against this NC State defense. Brennan Armstrong in from Virginia, the quarterback at State, did not look great passing the ball against UConn. Did run it well. He's a good athlete, good running quarterback. NC State ran it pretty well. Good defense for NC State. Hey, I really like the Irish in this game.
Sam Hartman has thrown more picks against NC State than any opponent in his career. And I don't know how you evaluate, even if you're Freeman, how you evaluate 98-6 in the first 2 games with your opponents.
Yeah.
I don't know how you know what has worked well and what hasn't based on the speed on the field that they should see more of from the Wolfpack.
You feel like this will be the first time they really face adversity at some point. Even if they win pulling away, they're going to face some adversity at NC State.
I like Notre Dame.
I like Notre Dame to cover this also. I really like Notre Dame early this season, period. Game number 6, Wisconsin. Brooke isn't here, but she'd be excited about this one. Wisconsin at Washington State in the Palouse. Wisconsin coming in ranked 19th, 6-point favorite. This game is 7:30 Eastern Time on ABC. Tanner Mordecai, not very good in the opener for Luke Fickell at Wisconsin. 2 interceptions, shaky. Defense was shaky in this game. That's very uncharacteristic for Wisconsin to have shaky defense. They had that in game 1 against Buffalo, a 38-17 win for the Badgers. Cam Ward is the story for Washington State. Great quarterback play. They won this game in Madison a year ago, 17-14. I expect a higher scoring game in this one. Wisconsin a year ago, Hutton, in this matchup, 3 turnovers, 11 penalties in the game, leading to a 17-14 loss. Got to clean that up if they're going to have a chance at Washington State.
And Wisconsin had 2 turnovers and no sacks against Buffalo. So what happens here? This is going to be a crazy atmosphere. Best non-conference game on their schedule.
Yep.
And this is upset alert. I like Wisconsin. I like Fickell. This is still upset alert to keep an eye on. Sneaky game. I'm glad it's high on your list.
Hutton, another game that's going to have an incredible atmosphere is my 5th game of the week. Game number 5 in my top 10 college football games of the week. Number 13, Oregon, going to Lubbock to take on Texas Tech. This game, 7 Eastern, 6 Central on Fox. This place is going to be hopping. I'll tell you who else is going to be hopping. Tyler Shook facing his old team. He was supposed to be an Oregon Duck legend when he was the quarterback there. Didn't work out. He's now at Texas Tech. Week 1 didn't work out for the Red Raiders. Leading 17-0. They lose in double overtime in Laramie to Wyoming, looking to improve on that. Oregon scored 81 points. Could have scored over 100 in Week 1 against Portland State. This is the Tyler Shuck reunion tour game. I like Texas Tech in this one to bounce back. It's going to be a crazy atmosphere. Night in Lubbock is always something to see, and we're going to be watching this one on Fox.
What do you think about the quarterback at Oregon here?
I think Bo Nix is going to have something to say about that also.
Shook should have been the next legend at
Bo
Oregon.
Nix should have been the legend at Auburn, and then went to Oregon to become a legend, to reach legendary status.
I want Texas Tech to play well here. I like the Ducks. I think we're sleeping on Oregon this season.
I'm sticking true to my Big 12 champion pick with Texas Tech. I'm hoping
I picked Oregon to
they
win
pull
the
it
Pac-12.
together. Yeah, and hoping they pull it together. I picked Washington. Hope they pull it together this week against the Oregon Duck. Going to be a good game regardless.
First Power 5 opponent that Texas Tech has hosted since 2017. It's been a while.
Non-conference.
Non-conference.
Yeah. That's great. Game number 4, Hutton. This is a Power 5 opponent going somewhere you don't normally see a Power 5 opponent go to, and that is in New Orleans. Tulane, 24th in the country, hosting 20th ranked Ole Miss. The Rebels, a 7.5-point favorite in this game, 3:30 Eastern Time, 2:30 Central on ESPN2. Michael Pratt, the epitome of efficiency, the quarterback for Tulane in his first game, 14 of 15, 294 yards, 4 TDs. That's like, I don't know how they do QBR when it goes over 100. That's like 178 or something thousand QBR for him in that game.
Point something.
Yeah, terrific.
178.4.
0.99999 for him. About a perfect performance for Pratt in Tulane against South Alabama. Jackson Dart was pretty damn good also. 18 of 23, 334, 4 touchdowns in a game you knew Ole Miss was going to win against Mercer, but he was fantastic. Tulane's defense, though, 5 sacks, 5 takeaways in Week 1 against South Alabama. Something to watch in this one. Dangerous game for Ole Miss. It's going to be a cool atmosphere in this one as Tulane hosts them. Excited for this one, my 4th game of the week. Game number 3. Number 23, Texas A&M at Miami. This game was a snooze fest a year ago. It was A&M coming off that disappointing loss to Appalachian State. I think they won something like 17-9 in College Station.
17-3 for a long time in that game.
I think this game's going to be better this year down in Miami. A&M put up 52 points after not scoring more than 28 against any FBS team a year ago until they beat LSU in the last week of the season. Maybe that offensive explosion against LSU was a sign of things to come because they put up those 52 in Week 1. Then you have Miami. Their defense is legit. Good line play on both offensive line and their defensive line. Maybe 2 of the best safeties, the best safety duo that A&M is going to see all year they'll face in this Miami game. Really good game, Hutton. As I said, you were surprised number 7 was NC State Notre Dame. Some really good games ahead of them, including this one.
I like Miami, believe it or not.
You're going with the Canes. Game number 2. This is the celebrity game of the week. Big noon kickoff is in Boulder. Everybody's going to be watching. Nebraska at Colorado. If you got 2 games to bracket today, it's my number 2 game.
This is it.
And then my number 1 game, which we will get to. Nebraska. Here's something to keep in mind about Colorado, okay? They gave up over 7 yards per carry against TCU. Nebraska can run the football, and they can run it with their quarterback also in Jeff Sims. So offensively, they don't have the firepower of Colorado. They don't have a Travis Hunter. They don't have Shedeur Sanders throwing the ball. Jeff Sims, not great throwing in Week 1 against Minnesota.
It won't be against Hunter either.
Can they churn out yards on the ground, though? Because we've seen Colorado's defense is susceptible to giving up big chunks on the ground. If they can do that, they can control the clock, sort of an old-school Huskers approach. Can they keep this thing close down to the end? I think they can. Does Colorado come back down to earth a bit this week? Regardless, Hutton, we're going to be watching. And we're going to be watching everything Deion Sanders does.
Post-game will be epic, regardless.
It will, and he's going to have a lot to say. We're going to have a lot to say about this game on Monday also. Game number 1, no surprise. The by God Texas Longhorns, number 11 in the country, going to Tuscaloosa, taking on number 3 Alabama. Everybody's doing the upside-down horns this week. Airbnbs are going for $40,000 apparently in Alabama right now. If you're staying there, you could have bought probably a Ford Expedition for the amount that you're spending on your house in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. So congrats on that decision. Going to be a great atmosphere. Texas must bomb away in this one. Xavier Worthy, 5 catches for 97 yards a year ago before Quinn Ewers went out of the game. Keep that in mind. Adonai Mitchell, great weapon on the outside also for Texas. D-line and O-line, Bama should control both of those in this game. If they do, I think Bama could possibly roll in this one, Hutton. They feel underappreciated. You don't want a Saban team when they feel disrespected, underappreciated. That may very well be this Bama team. Bama hosting Texas, primetime tomorrow night.
Back to bully ball is what they're doing with Tommy Rees's offense at Alabama. 2 tight ends. Didn't see much of that with Bill O'Brien. You're getting that now, and it comes down to, can Texas's defensive line, which is stout, hold up against and get pressure on Milroe, get him on the move where he's not looking to throw, he's looking to run whenever he's on the move, and disrupt any rhythm that the Bama offense has with the run game. The game comes down to that, and it's time for Quinn Ewers, who had a great first quarter before he got hurt a year ago, to throw downfield and hit some bombs, some explosive plays, Chad. He was 0 for 7 on passes beyond 20 yards
and that's
a week ago.
That's their chance in this game, is to hit some explosive plays with those wide receivers. Worthy, Mitchell, they got to make some big ones.
Worthy against Kool-Aid McKinstry.
But I think it's the big ones that win this game, and I'm talking about the big guys up front for Bama.
I can't wait for this.
Yep.
Sweat, Ford, others on Texas's defense better come to play. Hook 'em. That's my pick.
Get ready to bang some hats.
We've got other picks straight ahead, headed into the football weekend here on Hot Mic.
What you're experiencing is the bold taste of a Southern legend. Old Smoky Moonshine and Whiskey, authentic Tennessee mountain-style spirits. We believe in crafting flavors that were born from tradition but defy expectation, and pioneering a new experience with every sip. Because if it doesn't do this, it ain't this. Old Smoky Moonshine and Whiskey. Come on.
Welcome into OutKick the show. I am Clay Travis, your fearless leader. I am going to continue to argue that sports is one of the great unifying forces in all of American life. ESPN is a sinking ship. Democrats are now the party of the white, woke college graduate.
We live in a land of participation trophies.
You gotta lean into the turns. You really gotta lean into the turns.
When Leah Thomas walked in that first day, it got silent, and every girl was uncomfortable.
Very difficult to go back-to-back years in the NFL with the #1 overall pick.
I just think the way Anthony Bass handled this was so sloppy.
Oh, I think it's perfect.
And what he reposted and then how he did it.
He bent the knee and bowed. He was going to catch the ceremonial first pitch.
I've been out of LA long enough to have forgotten that libs, no matter how ridiculous the scenario, are gonna live. Another week of inflation, another week with Biden with COVID, and another set of losers to crown. People don't watch the WNBA on TV, in person, on a plane, on a train, on a bus, or on purpose.
The scary thing, Tommy, is in the history of this government, I've never seen them give anything back that they've taken.
Oh no, they never do.
And they won't.
When you're behind closed doors, when you're talking to plant managers, when you're having meetings, when you're with the team, was there an acknowledgement of any of this, an acknowledgement of the situation, the boycott, and then the doubling down about moving away from the fratty image?
We've seen coaches throw water bottles. We've seen coaches act like idiots. We've seen coaches slap other coaches. But I think if you're involved in carjacking, you're inherently a rotten human being. The level of stupid that sometimes gets on our YouTube chat just gives me a headache. You're born a male, play with males. You're born a female, play with females. Don't at me about it, people. I'm pissed off about this. I never did it before in my life, but Trump is being cheated. The American people are being cheated. We, ladies and gentlemen, are being cheated.
I believe this person is the greatest player anybody alive will ever see. How can you hate Derek Jeter? A guy's on-base percentage tells me his batting eye, and a guy's slugging percentage tells me if he's a threat. That's the kind of guy that throws a no-hitter, that effectively wild guy.
Old Smoky Moonshine and Whiskey. Bold taste of a Southern legend.
It's not if you lose, it's how you lose. It's also how you win. Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow rolls on. Chad, if Texas goes on the road and wins, we don't know how. What's the perception on Monday about the Longhorns program with Sarkisian, Ewers, and where they're headed with Arch Manning?
2 words, they're back.
The website changes.
This is, if you remember Tom Herman's, I want to say second year, they beat Georgia in a comeback win in the Sugar Bowl, I think it was. And people were declaring that they're back at that moment, that it didn't work out for Tom Herman. And then throw all that out. If they go on the road and beat Alabama with the way they're recruiting, knowing that after Quinn Ewers, you've got Arch Manning, they're back. And they're joining the SEC. Also, get ready for more games like this. This is about to be their reality. This is a nice preview for Texas about what a lot of weeks are going to be like in the SEC.
I realize scheduling plays a factor here, but are we ever going to talk about Oklahoma? They're also joining the SEC.
Well, in Oklahoma, I mean, all they did this first week was win 73-0 against Arkansas State. Yeah, he had to be consoled by one of his players. Can you imagine if I'm out there coaching 8U softball and one of my girls had to console me when I'm just down on a knee
not
because
only
of
that,
a loss?
Someone that you had on the bench was consoling you, a bench warmer.
Just wound a little too tight.
Davey Hudson is not that way. He joins us for our thoughts going into the weekend. And wrong team favored, where we're keeping up with some points here. I took Florida State over LSU. I took the points, 2.5 points over LSU. So based on the victory, winning outright, I get my 2.5 here. Davey, how did everyone else fare last weekend? Excuse me.
Not good, Bob.
Okay.
not good.
Yeah, no, Chad ended up having the Gamecocks didn't look well against the Tar Heels, and I took the Rainbow Warriors thinking, hey, they might be able to put up a fight against Stanford. Was not the case, as we know. The Pac-12 went 13-0 last week. But this week, Chad, you and I think we can get back on the right side here.
There's always time
to come back. You guys are not with me, clearly. I can tell. Set the parameters for what we're doing.
There's always time to make a comeback, Hudson.
So for wrong team favored, the object of the game is you have to take a underdog in college football and whatever they are against the spread. So, for instance, like last week with Florida State being a 2.5-point dog, if Florida State upsets LSU like they did, Hutton would get 2.5 points to his yearly total. So with him being the only winner, he has 2.5 points. Chad and I are sitting with goose eggs at the moment.
Shall we go on to week 2?
Absolutely. And
Hutton, you will. You have the honors. You have the floor, sir, as the only person to actually win your pick in week 1.
I'm taking Texas to go on the road and win in Tuscaloosa. Oh. And I'm wearing the burnt orange today with cricket for a reason. I'm taking the 7 points. I'm going to add to this with 9.5 when I return on Monday because last year we saw Bryce Young. He was a magician. He was the superstar and a superhero. That was with Alabama's 15 penalties and with Quinn Ewers getting hurt after the first quarter. It is time for that same effect to happen for the Longhorns offense and Ewers. Go on the road in this atmosphere and win. and win against a team that Saban hasn't been preaching, here's how we win a national championship. That's what he's done in recent years. But in listening to Cole Kubelik, who was on the call and was in Tuscaloosa this offseason, talking with Saban and watching practice, the message has been, here's how you beat the man in front of you, instead of here's the path to winning a title. They're back to figuring out things in what was, and it's a joke, what was a rebuilding, refreshing year after not making it to the playoff a year ago. Texas needs to get back on track. And I think for the first time in maybe 10-plus years, Texas's starting lineup compared to Alabama's is comparable. More comparable than it's been, and as close as it's been since, 2007-ish, around there. I'm taking the Longhorns on the road to win, and it's because of the quarterback. It's because of the defensive line effort that Texas will need against a stout front from Bama, and just the playmakers around. I think they're okay at running back with Texas, even though they lose Bijan Robinson. I think they're okay with the freshman that's running it well. Give me Texas in a big moment. It's a tight one. I'm a nail-biter when it comes to this game. I think Texas wins.
I've got a feeling a reckoning is coming.
I know. I want to hear why.
But Hutton, you may be right. I may be wrong on where the reckoning is coming from. The reckoning could be Texas announcing their presence in the SEC with authority in this game.
I actually believe they're developing their talent on the Longhorns roster behind the program now, unlike recent years.
Many have been led astray by believing in the Longhorns over the years, but Hutton is a believer. And
Baxter
we will
and
all
Brooks.
be believers if they win.
Baxter and Brooks go off.
If they pull off the upset, we'll all be believers. I'm going to sit right here right now and tell you that we're all going to be believers in what Clark Lee is doing at Vanderbilt after this weekend. Vandy, I'm going big.
Go.
-10, or excuse me, Wake Forest is -10. Vandy, a 10-point underdog at Wake Forest. This is the rare 10 a.m. Central Time kickoff. This game is at 10 a.m. Central, 11 Eastern. I didn't know games started that early until I saw this one on ESPN2. I think it's the network. Vandy at Wake Forest. I think Vandy's improved. I think they got a good, solid SEC level wide receivers. I think they got a quarterback who can throw it a little bit. I think their line play is not good from what I've seen so far. But I think that they're good enough to go on the road and beat Wake Forest without Sam Hartman. This isn't Wake Forest a year ago that rolled into Vandy and destroyed the Commodores. I think this Vandy team is a little bit better. I like Vandy to go on the road and win outright at Wake Forest. Wrong team's favored in this one. The battle of the black and gold, these are two schools that never say they've become too academic, Hutton. They don't claim that like other big football powers. They're always
very
just
similar
academic
mascots
enough.
as well. Very
Similar mascots, everything very similar. Vandy, though, goes on the road and beats Wake Forest.
Get some Commodores with your coffee tomorrow morning.
That's right.
Pac-12 after dark, Commodores and coffee.
Coffee and Commodores at 10 a.m.
They're just avoiding the rain, by the way. The rain is moving out around like 8:30 tomorrow morning for Wake Forest. So they imagine that in a downpour.
Might wake up for halftime with that one. Guys, for my pick, when these two teams meet, you just throw out the records.
Yeah.
You got to look at the rivalry. The Iowa Hawkeyes versus the Iowa State Cyclones. Iowa State, a 4-point dog going into this one. This game will be taking place at Ames. I just can't trust Brian Ferentz to be able to put up some points. And I know Iowa State, not as good as they were last year. They were able to win 10-7. Chad, I think you mentioned it in your top 10 games. It's going to be a low-scoring affair. That's just what you have to expect between these two teams. But I think Iowa's going to make a mistake where it ultimately costs them. And again, whenever it's such a low-scoring game, you can't afford that opportunity. And Caden McNamara also a little banged up. So you look at that. If Iowa wants to win this game, they're going to have to do it on the ground. And right now, I just don't think they're going to ultimately be able to go into Ames and pull off the victory on this one. So I am taking Iowa State. They are the wrong team favored in this matchup.
I love this pick. I would absolutely go with the home underdog in this one, too, in Iowa State.
How many points here?
4.
Yeah. Oh, that's perfect. And you have Brian Ferentz. He comes into the season needing to average 25. Yeah. But as he scores lower, that average needs to go up game by game in order to get to the average of 25.
And I think it'll get to the point he just starts pressing. And when they do that with this offense, that's when they're going to make that mistake.
I'm just imagining. I haven't seen their schedule to see like what easy game. They just beat Utah State by 10. But if they have an easy opponent.
If there's a pick six, does that count in his favor?
No,
yeah.
it's not the offense.
No.
The offense didn't score.
No, I think it's just the team has to score 25 plus. I think any defensive score goes to his.
Again, it's like
how detailed are
that would be extreme. Like I think if the team scores 25 plus, regardless, they could have 4 pick sixes and he could cover the 25 and he would still be safe.
It doesn't count.
I want to see them if they
Well, it counts at
I want to see him battle Dad in a game where they're blowing someone out. And they're trying to pull the starters. He's like, no. This all counts. My clock is ticking. My meter is running, baby. We got to get up to 70 in this game against an FCS opponent because that's going to help with my average overall.
You can join us through our college wagers. And if you haven't taken your shot with PointsBet, now is the perfect moment to do so. Big reason is exclusively for first-time PointsBet users. You can take advantage of this unique offer. You place an initial bet of $50 or more on any game. Maybe it's one of the 3 we just mentioned, maybe some of the NFL matchups we're playing as well. Receive an official jersey from Fanatics.com. If jerseys aren't your thing, you can opt to take $150 in credit to Fanatics. You can load up on gear that you really want. Remember, terms and conditions apply. You've got to be 21 or older, legal gambling states. Gambling problem, 1-800-GAMBLE. And if you're ready to get in the game, head over to OutKick.com/bet to snag the offer and discover more options and deals from partner sportsbooks. We head to the NFL with our money line locks and the Moneymakers that we're playing in Week 1. It's difficult to really pick who's good, who's not. Really bad teams can get a win this week. The team with the number 1 overall pick next year can win this week, believe it or not. And we've each got our money makers going into the weekend. I mentioned it with Kelly in Vegas. Give me Atlanta -3.5. I feel really good about this. Bryce Young, good quarterback, not ideal situation with Adam Thielen, who is questionable. DJ Chark is out. And while they have a run game and they have a defense that was young and now veterans are moving up the ladder, that has been an issue. The offensive line up front has been an issue through the preseason. Meanwhile, no team did more to try to improve their defense than the Atlanta Falcons. And on the offensive side, Ritter starts with plenty of talent around him. Run game, Bijan Robinson, Arthur Smith is looking for a Tannehill-like performance this season from Desmond Ritter. I like Atlanta laying the points against the divisional opponent, which I know Kelly said don't do. I'm doing it because of this matchup. First career start for the rookie and the record for number 1 overall picks over the last 20 years. 14 number 1 overall picks in 20 years, yet to win against the spread. That's why I'm taking Atlanta at home in Week 1.
Hutton, I like that one. What is the line on that Titans? What is the over-under on Titans Saints? Not the line.
41.5, and it's one of 3 games at that line. It's not the lowest. The lowest is Arizona-Washington at 38.5.
Saints are 3-point favorite as well.
Take the under. I don't even care what the number is. It's going to be a low-scoring, defensive affair. That's a low over-under, but I'm still locking in the under on Titans Saints on Sunday.
The largest over-under, by the way, just scanning through quickly, Cincinnati-Cleveland at 47.5, and Jacksonville-Indy 46.5. They're expecting that to be quite the touchdown fest, I'm guessing, with Jacksonville. I would hope it's not because of Anthony Richardson and wide receivers that I don't know if the common fan knows about other than Michael Pittman.
Davey, what you got?
Guys, for my moneymaker, I did put this in earlier this morning. This line is going to be moving with the news that Christian Watson is out, but I'm all in on the Chicago Bears covering. I mean, it's only a 1-point game when I'm locked in, but they're going to beat the Green Bay Packers. I don't know who Jordan Love's going to throw it to, let alone I don't know if he can throw it to begin with. So you add that in, I think the Bears are actually going to be able to make that jump. They're not going to win the division, but they are going to be pushing to make the playoffs this year. Justin Fields going to do enough with his legs. We'll see if he makes that next step with his accuracy, if he's able to actually put it together in that compartment. But right now, I know the history is on the Packers side, but if you look in your Chicago, you know who you're not seeing across the field from you this go-around? That's Aaron Rodgers. No Aaron Rodgers, no thanks on the Green Bay Packers for me. So I'm going with Chicago Bears -1. Lock it in.
Davey does not believe that Jordan Love inherited ownership of the Chicago Bears from Aaron Rodgers on his way out. There was no familial tie there. There was no inheritance.
No deed was signed.
No deed. Yep. He didn't bequeath anything to him as he left.
Justin Fields needs to show up and show out in this game.
He does.
And he's certainly capable of it. But based on the matchups and given the fact that, and just looking at their depth chart, Jaden Reed, who's a second-round pick rookie from Michigan State, with no Christian Watson and who knows about Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed is the third wide receiver listed for Jordan Love, who has appeared in 10 games and has 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Here's what I do know. On Monday, win or lose, we're going to be discussing Colorado and Deion Sanders.
We're going to be discussing all of it on Monday. A lot to get to. Texas, will Hutton still be wearing that burnt orange shirt come Monday? That's another question that will be answered.
Could be a long weekend. Join us 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern.
Will Hutton have bathed
weekdays
by Monday?
Here on the Cross of the OutKick Network. Have a great weekend.
Probably not.